Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Raquel Reyna. She is the author of Are You a Mutant? Step-by-step human design guide to unleash your genius, understand your uniqueness, and thrive during times of transformation. I just started scratching the surface of this book this week, and I'm new to the idea or the philosophy of human design. So we'll get into that tonight, and we'll open up the phone lines later in the show for you to call in and join the conversation tonight with our guest Raquel Reyna. Will join us after the World Wide Web of Weird, which we have a lot of weird to get to as always. Looking forward to this show. Let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Raquel Reyna, author of Are You a Mutant, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, and our first commercial break. Joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you here. And the cats, I see them walking in the background.
Back there?
Yeah. And I won't say who his secret name is, but hi. I want to say hi to Dean out in the audience. I know he's watching in the chat room. Hello, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
My kids and wife are out on a camping trip this week, and I couldn't join. And I miss you very much, guys. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Our guest, like I said, will join us after World Wide Web of Weird, and we do have a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead. Let me say it one more time. Let's roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start a continuing story that we've been covering for years now, and I had it just a few weeks ago of a really clear picture that, to me, no dispute, it is a giant panther of some kind, Black Panther, in the UK. Now we have a new eyewitness account, and quarterly a deer carcass nearby, of seeing one of these creatures in Dathmore, where there's been legend of this giant cat for, I mean, they say years in the article, but I think there's legends that go back hundreds of years of people seeing or maybe not even knowing what they were encountering at the time. So this is an interesting case. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get on into the World Wide Web of Weird. All right, so let me. I'm a little off my game too because don't have Rob here tonight at a show, so we couldn't get Rob, and he usually runs this. And I'm trying to get. There we go. Hitting the wrong button. Yes, share screen. Should have had this set up beforehand. My bad. There we go. All right, and then let's get to the article. Yeah, see how bad? It's so much better when Rob's here. Hope he's having a good show, though. All right, this is a supposed picture of it. Let's see, I got the shorter article from Unexplained Mysteries, but Devon Live was the original article. Sightings of a large predatory cat have persisted across the British Isles for years, while it has long been suspected that a population of these animals have been roaming the countryside. Conclusive evidence of their existence in the UK has been thin on the ground. Some of the sightings are thought to be the result of big cat owners releasing their animals into the wild after introduction of the Dangerous Wild Animals Act in 1976. But reports of large cats continuing well into the 21st century, it seems unlikely this could explain all of them. Now another report of large black cats in the British countryside has surfaced, this time in Dathmore, where a number of other sightings have occurred in the past. According to reports, John and his family had been enjoying a walk near Fernworthy Reserve on August 27th when they encountered a large black animal that looked suspiciously feline. It started walking around slowly, then saw me, stood there, and looked at me, and then started casually walking away, he said. I'm quite calm character, so I thought I was seeing things and remained calm as I had my dog and child with me and didn't want to panic then. We decided to walk back into the forest maybe a quarter of a mile further up, and straight away my son said, "What's that?" There was a half-eaten deer carcass just off the path in the woods. In the path there were quite a few bones, about 4 to 6 inches long, with broken bones from a rib cage. We then had to walk through the thick woodland to get back to the car, and while we were walking, we heard a roar. We thought we were going mad. And supposedly this is a picture they caught of it down the path, I believe. That's what Devon Live said, or maybe somebody else caught. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it's blurry, but not as clear as that other picture. But I think there's been accounts of this going on, and I know there was some DNA samples we covered once. They had it almost pretty much confirmed there's panthers in England. All right, moving on. Continuing another story we've been covering, with the whole UFO disclosure, we have this from the U.S. Department of Defense. Department of Defense launches all-domain anomaly resolution office website. More funding. Right, for this. That's what they're all calling for. An intriguing move the Department of Defense announced yesterday. It had launched an official website dedicated to providing the public with information concerning the AARO and its efforts to understand and resolve unidentified anomalous phenomenon. The new site promises to make reports, photographs, and videos regarding resolved cases available to the public and when they are declassified, as well to provide information and answers to commonly asked questions more easily available. They had a whole year they didn't do anything. It would also provide a tool to enable the government employees and servicemen to report their own UFO sightings, something that has been up until now problematic for them to do. The department is committed to transparency with American people, and the AARO's work on UAP and a press release about the launch states the website will serve as a one-stop shop for all publicly available information related to the AARO and the UAP, and AAR will regularly update the website with its most recent activities and findings as new information is cleared for public release. Literally, like I said, it's been more than a year since they started the AARO, and they said they were going to have this right away, and here we are. We're just getting the website up. I mean, what have they been doing? Then they had the nerve to gripe about the hearings and stuff by Congress, these people should be coming to us.
They're just sitting back collecting the money.
Yeah. Sean Kirkpatrick has his post and complaining about, they should come to me. Well, what have you done in the AARO? Nobody knows. All right. Now we have some UFO footage here. This is a screenshot of it, but I got a video too. UFOs coming out of a volcano. I'll leave that up and then we'll play the video in a second. Webcam watching over an active volcano in Mexico captured a curious moment, and this is from Tim Bindle from Coast to Coast AM, where a cluster of 18 lights appeared to exit from the fiery site. However, it was later determined that the fleet of UFOs actually had a terrestrial origin. The usual scene, and I've been seeing this going around, filmed last Thursday evening by a monitoring system which overlooks the Popocatépetl volcano, which is in Mexico state of Puebla. In the video, a glowing object can be seen seemingly emerging from smoke, billowing out of the crater. Following closely behind the anomalous illumination, more dozen similar oddities that trail in a straight line. The wondrous of nature of the event understandably captured the attention of UFO enthusiasts as by virtue of several strange sightings in the past. And, we've had stuff that's come in and out of volcanoes we've shown on this on the World Wide Web of Weird. This one, they have an explanation. Maybe it explains other ones.
SpaceX, though.
Well,
Like
you know what?
space.
I haven't got a chance to respond to him, but our friend Dan sent me some emails from a friend. It's got some stuff they saw, and I wanted to tell him it looks like it could be SpaceX satellites with that. But this, let's see here, it said, however, in this instance, the Armada was quickly revealed to have a rather familiar earthly explanation. Here we go. The string of glowing objects turned out to be Starlink satellites that just happened to be passing through the space at a perfect angle in the relationship to the camera, so it appears as though they were departing from the volcano. All right, do you think that's
when I've seen them, they're more in an exact straight line. One of them
right?
Like a little
so
off
watch this, Jamie. Tell me if you think this is Starlink. Wait, no, that's the picture. Well, I need the video. Hopefully, it'll play. You see it?
Mm-mm.
You don't see the video?
No, I see the video, but Starlink is more uniform, and it's like
right. See how they're kind of like spaced differently
by the lines, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, that's Starlink. I'd like what my Dan sent me from his friend. I said that could possibly be Starlink. Was what I need. I just saw his email. Reply to his friend's pictures. I should have put them in here so we could have looked at them. I didn't know if I had permission, but maybe Dan will call in later. But there even seems like there's something up here. You see that? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. The Starlink explanation for this, Tim Binnell has in this, they're claiming in Coast to Coast, and I'm sure he got it from another site that's saying this is what it is. I don't know. I've seen Starlink footage, and it doesn't particularly look like that.
It reminds me of like cars on a freeway, or like when you're driving and you're looking at the white lines on the street. It's just perfect, and the way they flow. This looks like it's being like shot out.
Yeah, they said it's at the perfect angle. I just did not, you can almost see the shape of these things. Look at it. Almost looks like flying saucers there. Yeah, I don't know. But that, are we gonna get? Is that the new explanation for a lot of things we're gonna see now? Oh, it's Starlink. Thanks, Elon. No aliens, right? That's what Elon said.
Because he would know.
And now they get to use his Starlink as new swamp gas. I don't know. Maybe it is Starlink. I'm not an expert. I don't know.
Could be.
All right, let's move on. And this definitely is suspect to me. I've been seeing this post up a lot. I don't know if you've seen this alien photo from Bolivia. I'll have a zoom in of it here. This is from the article from Unexplained Mysteries. Alleged alien captured on camera along Bolivia's Pilcomayo River, if I said that right. Take a look at the above photograph. So we have up here. This was a scene captured on camera along the Pilcomayo River in the city of Tarija, Bolivia, recently when something unexpected showed up while a man was being filmed in the foreground. Where's the man? I don't know. Maybe it's a zoom in and we don't see that. Exhibiting enormous proportions, long limbs, and an almost like skull-like head, the figure looks distinctly like the stereotypical alien entity that you might see in science fiction movies or TV. Cue the X-Files music if this was like a news report, right? On top of that, it appears semi-transparent. That's what I think is really weird. With the background partially visible through its body, it looks as though like a transparent being with long limbs, typical of a gray being, or really bad Photoshop. I'm sorry. It seems to have a special connection to the activities of this type, and they're saying the town of Tarija, if I'm saying it right, it seems to have a special connection to activities of this type, and this reinforces that notion there could be something more at play. And I definitely think Bolivia has had a lot of UFO activity, but I don't know. Let me go to the zoomed in picture. I think I got the second photo. Here we go. Well, it's not very zoomed in. Let me see if I can. Yeah. It's very grainy, but you can see it's totally translucent. But what's been coming up though in the Las Vegas case, in the Peru, in the jungles there case recently of them flying off, and they said with the military said it was just gold miners and jetpacks, but because these things are flying off or whatever. But they also, all those cases talk about them being cloaked, having cloaking ability, like Predator. And that's kind of that's going on here, but more likely than not, this could be some hijinks. I don't know. Or it's the real deal. Why was he just walking down the river in Bolivia? I don't know. Streaking. Maybe the alien's like, let's go streaking in Bolivia. Bring your camo. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely translucent. It could be bad Photoshop. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Jamie?
I agree with what you say. What you
Yeah.
say.
I mean, you need the original copies. This is my crappy blow up from the article. You know, you really can't get a
It's
really
hard to
detailed
say.
look out of it. Yeah. Definitely that it's translucent. You know, I don't know. I mean, like, if we got something that was real, would we know it's real anymore? You know. All right, the next story, I'll let you decide. You know, is this a case of haunted cell phone or 80-year-old woman who doesn't know how to operate it? British woman tormented by haunted cell phone. I have the shorter article from Coast to Coast from Tim Binnell. British woman delight over a new cell phone quickly turned to despair when the device began exhibiting strange behavior that left her wondering if it was haunted. According to local media report, the odd case began earlier this month when Diane Key brought her Motorola smartphone home from the store and shortly thereafter was roused from her sleep when the device flashlight suddenly activated. Turning off the illumination and dismissing the odd event as an isolated incident, her assumption was soon upended when the same thing happened the following night, and in to her chagrin has now occurred every evening since. However, the strangeness soon compounded as Key began receiving seemingly unending streams of inexplicable texts that seemingly said, "No probs," and "I not forgotten you." The messages she laminated started coming through every blooming minute, which ultimately rendered the device inoperable. The whole thing is really spooky, the 8-year-old mused. It's like it's haunted things like this that scare you at my age. Fortunately for Key, a psychic medium enlisted to consult on her situation indicated that the predicament is probably technical rather than paranormal in nature. That said, the mystic Tita Martell left open the possibility that the phone could be possessed since anything can become haunted in theory. And definitely, I mean, I've seen evidence of spirits being able to manipulate cell phones. I don't know, what do you think, Jamie? What technically... You've messed around enough with smartphones that could make her light turn on like that at night. Is there a timer function on cell phones that could make her...
I just looked that up, and there's not. I was curious if Samsung...
I knew you would. I knew you would.
But spirits do use flashlight is one, a big thing that they use to kind of let you know that they're there and to speak with them. So technically, unless there's something wrong with the phone itself, a connection maybe...
Could somebody hack it and do that? I mean, she's getting the text.
Possibly.
They're saying things, and, maybe they're trying to scam an 80-year-old woman because, hijinking her phone. That's the psychic said it's probably technical.
Yeah. She could have clicked a link, some weird email, some weird...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The link thing. Like, oh my God. I mean, I was just going through, I'm an admin in a paranormal radio show's Facebook group, and I haven't looked in there forever. And there's like all these different, shoe advertisements, people, fake bots. And I see those ones like, look who died or whatever links. Don't ever click on those. They're probably not dead. And if you click on it, your phone's dead.
A big one is now too. We've received your package at the warehouse, but we need to confirm the shipping address. So everybody orders stuff. They're like, oh, no.
And if somebody sends you a message and says, is this you? In a YouTube video or a post or anything, do not click on it. Anything seems abnormal, don't click on it. That's, better safe than sorry. Don't click on it. That should be the word of the wise. And it's hard, people that get up, past their 70s, start using cell phones and, think it's fine, and they fall for this stuff easily. And they've been scamming seniors since the days of the modern phone when they'd call them up and scam them. Now they'll use AI to do that. That's the scary thing. Have somebody call you up and then be like, sound like their grandson or something like that, because it can take their voice and copy it and then steal a bunch of money from them. I digress, though. Let's move on. All right, so this survey came out I found really interesting. Because I don't know. Sometimes, I think the numbers are lower because I think more people than what the survey is saying have had this experience is about having loved ones come through to them. And one of the ways maybe, the really interest when we talk about cell phones is people that get the messages from people after they pass, All different ways, but cell phones included. A new survey has indicated that more than half of Americans believe that their loved ones have come back to visit them. It is perhaps one of the most common types of ghost stories, someone who whether it be a friend, pet, or family member, manifesting either in dreams or even in person to visit you after they died. Now, according to a new survey by Pew Research, as many as 53% of adults in the U.S. believe that they have personally experienced a visit of this kind at some point during their lives. In addition, 34% claim to have experienced the presence of dead relatives within the last month, and 15% have been claimed to even experience a dead relative attempting to communicate with them. Around 28% said they had shared events of their life with their supernatural visitor. The survey found that women were more likely than men to report such experiences. And moderately religious people, as opposed to very slightly religious, were also among those who were more likely to believe they had been visited by a dead relative. And I've always said on the show that the most, being a paranormal investigator and doing this show, and people know I'm into it, or they find out I'm into it, 90% of the times if they relate to me something paranormal, it's not seeing Bigfoot or a UFO or going on a ghost hunt and experiencing something or whatever. It's usually a dead relative, somebody close to them that have come through to them, and they come through to them in some of the most amazing, beautiful ways. And to me, those are like when somebody shares that story with me, that experience, that's to me one of the most precious gifts of doing this show. Because I just love hearing them all. I truly feel like honored when people share this stuff with me, because they say 53% of people believe this and 34% have experienced that in the last few months. You know, I feel like I've heard more and more lately, or seen posts, more people having this experience. I've had some people reach out to me recently that have having loved ones that have been dead for years suddenly come through. I mean, are we having more communication? Is the veil thinning and our loved ones are trying to come through? That's the feeling I'm getting from when I'm talking to people. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I mean, we got a guest tonight. When you call in, definitely want to talk about her, but you can definitely add your 2 cents if you call in, if you feel like, have you experienced yourself more contact from like loved ones that have just died, not just recently died, like people that have passed years ago. I know I've had people say their father's come to them. He's been dead for 5 years, and people come to me because they know I have an experience with that, and they're like, "I'm not going crazy, am I?" You know, that there just seems to be this uptick of our family members that we think about or miss coming across to us more recently. I don't know what that's about, or I'm not trying to say it is about anything, but I feel like I've gotten more of those reports this year than I have any year from people just inquiring and to find out my particular take on their experiences.
I
get emails.
Waking up right now and
that.
kind of tuning into spirituality and things like that. So maybe they're noticing things more or paying attention.
Well, I think COVID and the fear and the campaign of it all and everything everybody went through, it made people question mortality and pay a little more attention, maybe.
That's a good point.
I think that's part of it. Just a part of it, not all of it. I definitely think there's some kind of awakening. And that's what our guests will definitely want to, Raquel Reyna, talk about tonight. Are you a mutant? I would love, we'll find out what that's about. So this last story I should get to, speaking of that, I thought this was really crazy. And I always have trouble reading these articles on the mirror. They glitch out on my tablet. But this one's really interesting. Woman freaked out after spotting ghosts reflected in her fiance's wedding ring. And let me get that first photo from that up. Hold on.
That gave me chills. I can totally see that happening, like a scrying.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So a shocked mom of one was freaked out after believing she had spotted the ghost of her late great-grandfather in her fiance's wedding band, but now believes he was giving his nod of approval at the choice. It's no surprise that Becky Cyril had a fright after spotting a figure peering back at her after ordering the wedding ring online. Becky, 27, explained how she sat in silence with her son Arlo Jobson, who's 2 years old, mulling over what she had seen. She had ordered the ring for her fiancé, Adrian Jobson, 36, online, as they had been struggling to find one that fitted. When it arrived on July 26, Becky tried it on and took a photo of it while standing in the hallway to send to her fiancé. When she took the photo, she was stunned after spotting a gray figure peering out from the wedding band. The image she took shows Becky's middle finger and with a silver ring out on it, and what appears to be a figure with gray hair wearing a brown top in the reflection. Becky from Bermondsgrove, Worcestershire, admitted she was initially freaked out, but when the family members pointed it at looked like an image of her great-granddad, Samuel Brown, the HR manager felt comfort. Why do you have to throw that in her job? Who cares? Felt comforted. She explained, "We ordered the ring, and when it arrived, I sent Adrian a photo of me wearing it, saying I thought it would be too small. I went to send it to him and saw the scary creature. It looked like an old man standing in my hallway. I just put my baby down for a nap, but I was so freaked out. I sat in silence for the whole time. He was asleep. I was at home alone with the baby. I was really freaked out. I sent the photo to everyone. The specific photo is hanging in the same hallway where she took the image, and she believes she was giving the ring the nod. He was giving her the ring and nod approval. I'm sure family members are like, yeah, it's your granddad. It's your granddad. Oh my God, that's so creepy. Like, let's hope it's your granddad. It probably is. I think it's a sweet story, But I think her initial reaction is everybody's initial reaction. Like, who is this person? Because you can see her. You can see her hand. You can, she's the only one there in the room. And you can see her hand in the reflection. Then it's definitely not her. There's like somebody behind her looking at her. And that, the ghost photobombs like that are unnerving. I think I had to zoom in on it, but I don't think it does much more quality to it. Let me see. You can definitely see like the gray hair and the face. It's blurry, but I definitely think there's somebody behind her. Looks like it. But that would be the perfect moment to come through.
I can totally see something like that happening.
Yeah. And like I said, I've been getting a lot more of these stories. I see a lot more of these stories posted. It seems like I said, people are more awake to it or more open to it. And those from the other side, and like her grandfather's been dead for years, comes through to her at this moment. And I think a lot of people are, the world's going through really weird changes right now. And maybe that's why people are trying to reach out from the other side. I don't know. Food for thought tonight for our guest tonight, Raquel Reyna. She's the author of Are You a Mutant? Step-by-step human design guide to unleash your genius, understand your uniqueness, and thrive during times of transformation. That's our guest when we come back from this short commercial break. And later in the night, we'll open up the phone lines. You can join the conversation with our guest, Raquel Reyna, when we come back later in the show for that. But we'll start with our interview after this short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. of the third kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Raquel Reyna. Raquel is a revolutionary human design teacher. She has a master's degree in spiritual psychology. She's been on a spiritual journey of awakening since the age of 23 when she was traveling the world going through a shamanic initiation with one of the most powerful shamans in the world. She's a spiritual shock igniter who has since helped countless people transform their lives by understanding their personalized success code in her internationally known human design school. She founded called the Creative Coaching Certification for Human Design Specialists. Her first book, Are You a Mutant? The Step-by-Step Human Design Guide to Unleash Your Genius, Understand Your Uniqueness, and Thriving During Times of Transformation is now available on Amazon. I am not familiar with human design philosophy. I've heard of it before, so I will be learning just as you will tonight. And if you have questions later in the show, we'll open up the phone lines. You can call in, ask Raquel your questions tonight. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, let's get our guest here in the StreamYard. Let's see. How you doing tonight, Raquel?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. It's an honor to have you on the show. I just started getting into your book. It's been a busy week. I say that last couple of weeks I'm trying to read a lot of books right now. But I do find it interesting. I'm not familiar with what human design is, so I will be learning that tonight. I've heard some about it. So I'd be interested to learn from you what that means. But I also want the audience to kind of get to know how this journey really started for you.
Well, I am a seeker, so I'm always really curious and looking and wanting to know what's out there. And so the first thing I was really interested in I started reading metaphysical books, and I got really into the I Ching, and then I started reading all kinds of metaphysical books. I got into the Carlos Castaneda series, Shamanism.
I saw that in your book when you said like how that kind of changed you. I had that moment in my early, like I was a teenager in high school. I was listening to Art Bell, and I would hear them mention that book, and I went and picked it up. I was just in a bookstore. I'm like, oh my God, this is the book. And I read that book like I don't know how many times. It was like, and it was so beat up by the time I made it out my senior year. That book definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. So I found that interesting in the beginning of your book when you talked about that experience.
That is so interesting because most people have not heard of it because it's kind of a little outdated at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think Carlos Castaneda, he was actually doing work for a while and teaching classes and teaching workshops, but I think it's been a while. So, yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of that, but I got obsessed with shamanism. And so I was like, I really wanted to have an experience of something beyond this world. And I wanted to have that experience for myself. So I started looking for teachers. I started looking for people who could give me that experience.
Looking for your Don Juan.
Yeah, they call it the Nagual. So they were, I would like go to bed and I'd be like, I want my Nagual teacher. And so it was really shortly after that I heard about someone teaching the Toltec wisdom. And it was literally someone teaching across the street from where I lived. In college. Yeah, it was
it's not a common thing. Your Toltec expert, when you need one. He's just right across the street over there.
Okay, absolutely crazy. Like, that was the first time I was like, okay, the universe is listening. There's synchronicity. It's real. It's really happening. Like, so, he was teaching. It was across the street. He was in his living room, and he was teaching the exact same lineage as Don Juan.
Wow.
Which is the Toltec wisdom.
Wow.
And so I just became obsessed. I went in his living room. He was teaching like 3 or 4 people. And at the time, what he was teaching was this thing called the 4 Agreements. So if you've heard of that, that's Don Miguel Ruiz, who is a Toltec shaman. At that time, it was before his book was published, before he was famous. He was
I think I have one of his books. It's been years, but I'm pretty sure I have one of his books on my shelf, actually.
His book, The 4 Agreements, is still one of the most popular.
That's the book.
Yeah, the spiritual self-help, like one of the most popular self-help books. But he's a shaman.
Yeah.
And he's no frigging joke. I mean, he is very powerful, and he comes from a lineage of shamans. His mom, actually, Sarita, was the main shaman at the time. And so I was in college, but I was like, forget college. Like, this is what I want to study. And I just traveled all over the world with that community and went to, it's Teotihuacan, which is the main place in Mexico. It's outside Mexico City, where they say the wisdom is stored in the rocks, and they took people through these shamanic journeys. So, I went with them all over in Egypt and Peru, Machu Picchu, and all of the power spots in the world. And I was just...
You got a lot more for your money, I got to say, than going to college. I'll tell you that. You got a bunch of student loan debt, and you're stuck in one place. But, hey, you got to travel the world.
It was literally
Kudos
the
to
best
you.
college education ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you're gonna go into debt, you might as well travel the world for that kind of debt. So I was thinking.
Exactly. And it was the only thing that really interested me. And it's like I couldn't really get into anything else as far as like what I was studying in college. So I studied the metaphysics and I studied shamanism, and I really didn't realize how weird it was and how shocked my family was going to be, and everybody thought I was in some kind of weird cult, and all the things.
Well, what was your family's like? I mean, if don't mind me asking, your family's like religious background. What did you grow up in?
I was.
How big was the change? Was this?
It was pretty huge. I mean, I was a Reformed Jew in the Valley, the San Fernando Valley. So, basically,
It's pretty big.
I was basically a little Jewish girl, and we were very Reformed. So, I was never. I couldn't buy in even ever. So I never. Most of the kids in my age range at that time were getting bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah and going to temple and all of that. That's what you do in the San Fernando Valley in LA. And I was like, no, I'm not going to temple. I'm not doing any of that. I was immediately kind of not interested. But yeah, coming back saying, I believe in shamanism, and I'm traveling the world with a with a little short shaman from Mexico. Yeah, my parents were a little bit like, no, you're not. Like, no, you're not. So yeah, it didn't go over very well at all.
Your mom's like, just take your hand, reach it down my throat, and rip out my heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was definitely not something my family was striving for. And my family still they don't say anything at this stage of my life. They're like, okay, that's just Raquel kind of doing her thing. But they definitely still don't really understand what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I got lucky in the sense I had parents that were pretty open to, left me in an open, go discover for yourself religiously. So things like Carlos Castaneda's Don Juan, it's really got my mind into more like that, wanting to get interested in spirituality, shamanism. And, I always had to experience it since I was a kid. I've seen enough to believe there was another side and there's something much more than what was being told to us, from the mainstream. That there's something much more. I've always been a weird kid. But that book really got me to really want to like seek something spiritual or something sound like he was like the Yoda with acid, taking out the desert. They're not acid, but it's shrooms or mushrooms or whatever, peyote and like all kinds of stuff. And then they don't. Then the drugs are gone. It was just the shock like you talk about tonight. We'll talk about the shock, kind of like the shock Carlos into seeing the other side. And I think for some people, I've always thought that's kind of what some people need. Not everybody. Because they have no imagination for it. They've not had an experience. And sometimes those kind of shocks get them to open up to new experiences.
I absolutely agree. And I was actually that person. I needed that shock. I came from a pretty superficial world. And even I had imaginary friends growing up, which I've now come to realize a little bit more about what that was. But once I hit junior high and high school, forget about it. I was just caught up in the world of growing up in in LA, and
finding your identity as every teenager does. That's where I lost it too, for a while.
Yeah, and I was having fun with it, I really was. I enjoyed it. But when I got to college, I really was curious and wanted more. And so I really needed that shock and that initiation into something. And after that, my life really was never the same. I studied with a lot of different teachers. I studied pretty much anything metaphysical. Actually, Don Miguel taught a lot about the tarot, and he doesn't write about it, but he was taken through the Egyptian tarot. Yeah, he was actually literally physically taken through the tarot training in Egypt. And so he knows the tarot. He's a master, and that is one of the studies that I was really fascinated with also. And the tarot actually is a part of the human design knowledge. So the human design
I've
knowledge,
always been fascinated.
Yeah, it merges the Kabbalah, which is interesting because that is my, that's my heritage, my lineage is the Jewish Kabbalah, so that's part of it. And the I Ching, which is another book that also really, just shocked me. And then the astrology, and then it brings together the quantum sciences and neutrino physics. So it's a really interesting conglomeration of different types of metaphysics so that you can understand the world from a new perspective.
That's it. I've used to do like tarot readings, and I got into a little bit of that when I was in my 20s because I got interested in archetypes, and the tarot is like an archetype of like life, the flow of life, I guess you could say, and always been interested in that. I've had, for me, I've had psychic experiences, never been able to control it. The closest I've ever been able to control my ability was when I was doing tarot, where I could know things about people and understand that what I was knowing, like the tarot was like my training wheels or guide, And then I had some really negative, weird experiences with it, and I gave it up for a number of years. Yes.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think with anything metaphysical and spiritual and multidimensional, you can have crazy experiences. And I know when we were traveling in Egypt, we had some really intense kind of doors were opening into very weird worlds. And you kind of have to find your way through that to the other side. I think that's a part of the spiritual journey because, whenever you're opening those doors, you're going to be trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, besides Carl Castaneda's book that got me really looking at spirituality, I was attacked by something for months when I was 17. I turned 18 in between the time. That was, some people call it shadow person, whatever. The scene attacked me in the middle of the night for months and even levitated me off my bed till I finally basically asked for God to help. And I'm not like a Christian or anything like that. I've read a lot of the Bible and I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't quantify myself as that at all, or any other religion. But I believe in a higher power after that because I felt like it saved me. And I felt this unwhelming compassion and just nothing I've ever done in the past or you're judged on. There's no judgment. Just I'm here for you kind of a feeling. Most warming feeling I ever had. And that got me really wanted to look at, because I was I wouldn't say, I was not an atheist, but when it came to the question of God, I'm like, yeah, or a higher power, or I call the force, I really didn't get into it until that experience. So that was my other shock experience into it. Did you, as a kid, you say, you had imaginary friends, or, did you have some point in your life where you were having these, experiences, maybe even as an adult, that are not normal for others?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the imaginary friend, I used to call him Bobby. I forgot about him until much later in life. I had another experience where I remembered him, and then I brought it up another 20 years later I met an enlightened teacher. And she was able to see that imaginary friend. And she said it was a Babaji, who's one of the ascended masters. But I think the experience, so that was a really profound experience having that kind of clarification. But when I was traveling in Egypt, I had a very similar experience that you're sharing, where it wasn't just me, there were several people being attacked by what they were calling this black magician, right?
Are they seeing like a black shadow?
Yeah, it was, and they so there was things that were going wrong on the trip. Like one of the girls got lost. She got taken off the bus, and then we couldn't find her, and she got lost, and people were seeing this. It was like this black magician or the black shaman or whatever they were calling it. And
are these local people that are saying they're seeing this, or this is the people on the trip?
All the people on our trip.
Okay.
And so then it caused this huge conspiracy, and I don't know, conspiracy is more of a modern word, but at the time it was just people went into fear and fear spirals. And so everyone was freaking out, and I mean it was pure chaos. And if you've been to Egypt, have you ever been to Egypt?
No, I wish.
Okay, so the energy around the pyramids is like stepping into a frequency of intensity that honestly I've never experienced anything like it. It's like being in an altered state. The minute I got there, the energy was so intense, and so it was causing what felt like psychotic breaks in people. And so I remember that it was during that trip when I had a very similar experience when I called in just the highest formation of light, the
Yeah.
highest, divine, and I would use the word Christ too, even though I'm Jewish. Like it was like,
Your mom put your hand down my throat and rip out my heart.
yeah, exactly. That's for sure the place my mom's like, no way, please, please. Oh, but it was like I could feel that frequency just moving through
Yeah.
me. And I do remember that there was that moment when it was like, okay, you're either going to spin out in the fear and spin out and go in that spiral, or you're going to be able to come into, and what was so for me was like this real simplicity of like love. I mean, it was just literally like a simple thing. And I just kept telling everyone, oh my
Yeah.
God, we have nothing to be afraid of. Like, you guys just
Exactly.
created this illusion.
That's the feeling. Like all fear washed away, all hate and anger washed away, all the insecurities and doubt, all that in that moment. It was like internal bliss, of feeling. And it was a presence. It wasn't just like I was giving bliss. It's a presence like that's there. That's a consciousness that is like, I'm here, don't worry.
Questions are answered. Sorry, go ahead.
Out of curiosity, did you get kind of a feeling almost like a chemical dump or something in your body, like an adrenaline dump?
At that time?
Mm-hmm. When it happened, when you could feel yourself change?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It absolutely felt like adrenaline. It felt like a chemical shift. And then it felt like I could see through the fears that everyone was having. And I could see through what was going on. And I was actually the youngest one there at the time. So
How old were you?
It was at the time I was 22.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a long time ago, by the way.
I'm 44, so I feel you.
Yeah. So basically, it was a while ago. But at the time, people weren't willing to kind of listen to me. They're like,
Yeah.
So everybody just went into a fear spiral. And as a matter of fact, there's still people talking about that trip because, I mean, people were getting. I mean, there was. I could go on and on about stories about that trip.
Well, did it start with being at an ancient site?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, what I experienced was not at an ancient site, but it was at these train tracks, crossroad train tracks, really. It was a bridge that train tracks had run under it, and I didn't know at the time, but a bunch of people had died on those tracks on numerous different occasions.
Wow.
It was a weird place. And whatever followed me and two other friends was, I don't think, people say, oh, demon, or whatever. I don't like to quantify things like that. But it was not a human spirit. You know what I'm saying? This was something alien in sense is what I've called it. And there's some alien connection maybe to that. I don't know. I had a camping trip that summer before where I had an experience. I don't know if it's connected. But some of my abduction friends maybe think about it when they've had shadow person experiences. I mean, a shadow person experience could be a spirit. Spirits can appear negative or dark and be still a human spirit. But there's something about these. I compared it to a parasite that it fed off my fear. It fed off my friend's fear. The more fear you gave it, the stronger it got. And so I'm imagining your trip here at an ancient site where there might be other things like this. You look at what they describe as jinn, and that there's these entities or another dimension that feed off our energy, especially young, 16 to 20, 22-year-old, that kind of energy. You're going through a spiritual awakening. It's like that's what was going on with me. And they feed off, they want to just wreck through that energy. They want to feed off your fear. Oh my God, a whole trip of you, like a whole bus full of you. It probably is having a smorgasbord.
It really was. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The way I sort of look at it now is it feels to me that there is a fourth dimension. And sometimes this is just the way I perceive it now. I'm not saying I know for a fact, but it feels to me that there's like a fourth dimensional grid. And if you're in and you're beginning your spiritual awakening and you're going into other realms, and you're able to tap into other experiences, you have to kind of go through that dimension to get to the fifth dimension. And to me, once you do get to that higher fifth dimension, to me, there's that frequency of the master energies that sort of give you clarity beyond that place of the fourth dimensional grid. That's
What?
just how I see it. But
Yeah. Well, no, I think you're onto something, and something I've always wondered about. And I think that, they really kind of hint to this in Don Juan too. Is that the most dangerous time is at the moment of this awakening.
right.
And when I was young, having my awakening, you were young, and I'm sure even though you were the youngest there, they were all probably within their younger ranges that are on that trip. Or even if they're older, you can have this awakening in an older person. Years down the road, people have awakenings. But whatever it is, at that stage in the moment when you start to open up, the chakras open up, that energy, and you're starting to discover this world, is a dangerous time. Like, there are things out there that feed off of this powerful energy, I think. Parasitic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I personally think that's a lot of what was going on during this whole COVID situation, because the energy it really pushed people into an awakening, a lot of people, because it was so shocking. And then so many people were opening up, and then it gripped a lot of people with the fear. And I think there was a lot of entities. I saw a lot of
Yeah.
people get kind of absorbed with the entities at that time. And there were so many new people being exposed to or stretching or
Oh
trying to
yeah.
have spiritual, right?
Oh, well, we brought up on the show during COVID. We've been on for 8 years. I mean, we were there for the whole experience. Every Sunday night, covering as the events transpired with it, and then lockdowns and the stupidity. Sorry, but
I agree.
the people being locked down, I brought up in the show, and to me, it gives me goosebumps to this day to bring up this thought. Is that, think of somebody who lives in it, that's being like the entity case. If you ever familiar with that from the 70s, somebody's being tormented by something like I had, but they're trapped in their home.
Yep.
They're cut off from their loved ones. They have no support, and they're being turn on their TV, fear. Turn on your radio, fear. Look at your phone, fear.
Yep.
And if there's anything out there like what attacked me, dear God, I fear. How many people? They talk about the suicide rates and horrible things, but how many people were going through some spiritual dilemma at that time, and they were cut off from everyone.
I saw it happen with friends. I did. I saw it happen with people during that time where they got caught in some really strange entities. And
Yeah, I remember getting some people calling about some cases I had, because I don't really do a lot of paranormal investigating anymore, but getting my advice and whatever. And at the time, I was like, we're definitely not coming, because, I would come, but I have people that are older in my group, but I don't want to expose them, even though, I wasn't really worried about it. I had to be, and a lot of times I turn down investigations because, like, I'm not going to come in there and make anything better.
Right.
Okay. Usually if I come in with equipment and start asking questions, your activity is going to get more pronounced probably. Because a lot of times it just ups the fear ante, and I'm not trying to do that. But I can try to explain some things and help you out. But there was a lot of that during the lockdowns when people were isolated. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a strange time. And I think we're actually still in some kind of strange times.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we're going to be heading into some more strange times.
Yeah. The world is changing. That's for sure. And good or bad, I don't know. Yet to be determined.
Yeah, it's really true. And this is actually something that I look at a lot. So, with the human design piece, we look at astrology as well, and sort of how the grids and the cycles are mapping out. And so it sometimes helps because you can kind of see how these cycles are playing out.
Yeah,
And
our guest
so,
last week, the whole topic was astrology, and it was really interesting.
yeah, I find it really fascinating, because I know if you look at astrology, they don't exactly talk about the cycle in the same way that human design does, but it's similar. Like, so human design incorporates the earth as well. So it's a little bit different as far as how you're going to view the astrological influences. But they talk about a cycle that's happening starting in 2027. And so, yeah, we're in like the last like 4 years of this breakdown.
About 8 months ago, there was a CIA analysis guy who came out and said, he worked for the CIA, is totally legit, and that fact doesn't mean what he's saying is true. No, but according to him, they know the aliens are here, and the year they're coming, that they're prepping themselves for, why we're having this slow rollout of disclosure, is the year 2027. So that's why I laughed when you said that date.
Really? Okay, I got to
True
do that
story.
research.
I can send you the article. I'll email it to you. It's it's about 8 months ago. I was going to talk about it last Sunday and we ran out of time because I ran across the article and I'd heard about it, but I actually found an article from 8 months ago where this guy's from ex-CIA analysis is saying that he saw evidence that they know about aliens. They're here now. They've been interacting. They have and they know they're coming in year 2027. Take that with what you may. I don't.
Wow. So, yeah, and this is really fascinating. And so, like, well, I'll have to go back and research it, but I'm really curious about that as far as what he's saying that they're going to do in 2027. So, is this like kind of a real disclosure, or is it more the, like, what do you think?
I am of the generation of X-Files that says trust no one.
Right.
So do I trust that? No. I believe, I do believe, I've had my experiences. I've had guests on here. I believe aliens are here. I believe people are having abduction experiences. I've seen the big ship. They're here.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that our military, I shouldn't say our military industrial complex would use a fake alien scenario to bring in a new world order or a bigger military budget is definitely a possibility I keep open.
Yeah, exactly. It does seem to like right on the money. I definitely like I live in California now in Irvine and what was it like 2 or 3 weeks ago we had a hurricane and that's never happened here in California. We've never ever had a hurricane before. And
Jamie's in
so
California.
where are you?
Bay Area, Tri
Oh,
Valley.
yeah, so I mean, they were hearing about it too. I'm in Southern California. It was started in Mexico and went to San Diego, and then they were causing all this fear. People were freaking out, and so I went to sleep. And that night, I woke up and I went out and looked out my window, and I looked up at the sky, and I saw through the sky. Now, this was not reality and it wasn't a dream. If you guys have ever had an experience like that, where it's like there's a part of me that was seeing beyond, and I saw that it was altered and that someone unzipped the sky and they dumped the water out and that it was totally controlled. And so I was like, oh my God, I wake up and I'm telling my partner, this is for sure. Like, there's no way this was real. This was controlled.
Like,
And
you mean
then,
control weather manipulation?
yeah.
Yeah,
100%. I believe
right.
that with every fiber
she
of
was
my
going right there. Jamie's like, hallelujah. Because I heard it from her. I like I said, I'm a big Art Bell fan. I used to listen to him when I was a teenager, for a long time. And man, there's so many episodes he had on weather modification control, government programs, HARP. I mean, yeah. What a weapon you could use. What a way for big banks to go back and buy up the real estate after all the damage. And we got to watch what we say here on good old YouTube, but
Yeah, but it was really interesting because I woke up and then I started seeing everything I watched like confirmed that about that dream, and I was like, "Oh wow, that is so fascinating," because it wasn't even in my mind. I hadn't really thought about it. And then I was like, I'm certain, like, because when you just have that awareness and you have that insight, it's like it was just too clear and too obvious. But so and also I think what we're going to be seeing with the AI and all the things that are coming in through that is again just not really knowing exactly what to believe and not really
right.
knowing how to trust or what to trust.
Right. All right. We're in a land of illusion. I mean, we were just covering in our World Wide Web of Weird. They're saying it's Starlink, and these things coming out of this volcano. It's Starlink. And then we have an alien walking in Bolivia. No, you could take the clearest photo of an alien, and people are gonna be like, yeah, it could be fake. How are we ever going to know what is real?
Right.
The whole disclosure thing. You have parts of the government wanting to tell you there's aliens, and we have secret government programs, and the other part completely denying it. We are in a state of chaotic confusion constantly now.
To stay confused.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just thinking tonight, I started the show in 2015, and I feel like that was at the time when things started to go off the cliff and everything went chaotic and crazy, and we've been on this roller coaster ride ever since.
100%.
It's like something shifted in the energy.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I mean, it's kind of like grab the popcorn, and okay, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a time when the conspiracy theorists are proven right on some things at times. It's gotten that kind of crazy, and there's things I talked about early on the show back in 2015. I would talk about Epstein and that, and I'd bring that up. Even though we're a paranormal show, I get into things like that because it made me sick. That he was getting away with it, and then was years down later, it's like in the media, and people are talking about it, and he's they arrest him, and the next thing you know, he's dead in jail. I'm like, oh my god, I knew about that creep for a long time. I was always like, why isn't this guy in jail? And then we went through all that craziness, and there's just so much secrets being the UFO thing. When I started this in 2015, there was no mainstream, there was no disclosure going on. It was Leslie King in 2017. I think that's when she really, or was it 2018? I can't remember. When she really, with that New York Times article and Elizondo and that whole thing started from ATIP. That people started talking about, it started being in the mainstream media, and it's like all the people like me that have been watching this, been interested in this subject, armchair experts. I don't care. Nobody's an expert. When you start seeing the news media talk about it, you're like, what? I don't trust this. I don't trust you. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know the history. It's really frustrating when you see mainstream media cover it because you don't trust them.
How can you, after they've done so much to discredit people who have spoken about it in the past, and they've done so much to confuse people, and there's not really one source that is trustworthy. So, and I think when you're talking about things like this, like disclosure, it's gonna make it very interesting when you don't know what things to believe. And I think ultimately it's like, you guys are gonna be the people that everyone turns to. It's people who've had real experiences, that have real awarenesses within their own consciousness, and where you've actually been able to tap into those understandings and those awarenesses, and you've done enough work and study and exploration on your own spiritual path and your own knowledge. That's really what's going to hold weight, I think, in the future, because that's the thing that you can rely on.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I do the show as an open forum for people to talk about these experiences that most people don't think about, laugh at, or judge, or don't want to listen to. We talk, nobody's judged here. We can talk about our experiences. And, I've had guests with all different kinds of experiences and opinions on different matters on this show, because we're all exploring. We all got to compare notes, because what we've been told, what we grew up with as the mainstream media, mainstream thought, it's got a lot of things wrong. From our own experiences, we can tell.
Exactly. I know a lot of people who have been abducted, and they're trying to heal, and they're trying to figure out what their memories are.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a place to talk about it, and you don't have a place to really share, then those things just get repressed, and then we don't ever get to uncover what really is happening.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only way we get to the truth. Because I've laughed at the whole disclosure movement. I mean, I think there's good people that are trying to get the truth out. I do. but I've laughed at it because like it ain't it's controlled disclosure. It means BS. What you're getting, what they're telling you, is not the truth. There is truth in there. Yes, they have secret alien reverse engineering programs, and yes, they've recovered bodies. But the official narrative they're eventually going to push this all to is going to be the bull crap. If you don't want to cuss, line that they've been wanting to sell you the whole time. It's problem, reaction, solution. We got an alien problem. You're going to react with fear, and we're going to give you the solution we wanted the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, and what a great way to control people. And the crazy thing to me is that people are still so easily controlled.
That was the one thing that COVID definitely showed.
I mean, honestly, that is the shocking thing to me when I watch so many people still. I mean, even still to this day, we're getting married in October. And
congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's really kind of big, exciting news. Well, we've been together for 10 years, but we're finally getting married. And everybody's like, are you going to do COVID tests? And we're like, COVID tests? Like what? Like, we're both just like completely clueless that this is like now coming through again. Like, we're like, wait, what?
It's pretty simple. If you don't feel well, don't come,
Right. Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it's the world we're in now. It's because there is fear porn of mainstream media, and it's not just mainstream media and cable outlet news. It's on your social media. It's everywhere, and you're being bombarded with it. And it's shock factor. Fear sells just as much as sex and violence. Fear sells more than anything. It outdoes sex and violence by a mile. Fear gets your attention. Survival instinct. And that's clicks, that's ratings, that's money. And boy, I mean, look how much what they did, especially for mainstream media like that, especially with cable outlets that were tanking in ratings, and you lock everybody in home. Now you got to watch us, for your survival. That's where they got us at, and that's where I think they got a lot of people locked into it, and they're still locked into it.
TV and there's programming.
Yes. Yeah, we've been warned about this for decades. Happening in some shape or form, that they are, that it's all controlled. We should know this. We should know. We should question. I mean, there's plenty of history to back me up. You should question, your government and their actions, and that even the regulatory agencies involved that have been captured by the corporate mechanisms like Big Pharma, that you should question. Yes, talk to your doctor, get good advice, but you should question. And that was shot down and destroyed, and because of your fear. You can't question during a panic. We were all panicking. Nobody questioned this. And we just, so many people. And I don't get mad at people for doing it. I try not, because this is the human experience. People have been doing this in different chaotic situations. People, when they fear, they want, rule me harder. Government, rule me harder. We want some kind of savior.
Yeah, it's true. I do think that you make a really good point in that you can't get mad at people, because I think that's where they get us the most, is when we have dissension and it's us
We're
versus
fighting each other.
them. And we fight each other. And I think that that's like really the truth of what a lot of people are waking up to, if you're going to use that term, because that's just a hard term to use nowadays. But I do think that once we become aware that we're not going to get anywhere by creating this fighting and dissension and going against someone, but just like what me and my friends did in my like inner circle, because everybody had a different idea of like, I know they're promoting fear, but I still want to do this, or I still want to take the vaccine, or I don't. And everybody kind of had a different opinion. And we're just like, you know what? We're just going to all love each other through this and accept each other and accept whatever you believe. And like, and like my close friend knit group, I couldn't believe it, because we always are the same thinkers. We're, like we're spiritual. We're like, but we all went different directions on this. And I thought it was really interesting to watch. But I think what the piece was that was so important was just to like, stay close friends and love each other and let everyone have their own opinion. And let everybody
who are you to decide for somebody else? I'm not. You
Exactly.
do what you think is best for you. You know.
And we're all trying to navigate this situation that's never happened before.
Yeah.
Exactly. No one knew
Yeah.
what to think. I mean, they could have been, walk outside and
But
someone die.
But look at all your late night comedy shows. They did anything but. I mean, look at the narrative they put out. Jimmy Kimmel and Fallon and laugh. Stephen Colbert laugh at or demonize or people who don't go along with the mainstream narrative on this. They did everything they could to make it divisive.
Absolutely. And I think that is what the mainstream media is doing. And that's what the mainstream itself is doing. And I do think that shows like what you have and, whenever you're able to like take a stand for not doing that and for just not judging and being really present and watching it and being able to be aware, like that's really healing. And I think there's a lot more people doing that than we think. There's
Oh
a
yeah.
lot, and I think there's a lot more shows like the like Joe Rogan, for example,
Yeah.
is getting more views than
All of them.
all of them.
I think all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them. And why? Because Joe Rogan isn't some like philosophical genius of any kind.
Right.
He's just he's what, a former MMA fighter. He's just his own kind of average dude.
And Fear Factor. He did Fear Factor.
Yeah. Fear Factor. Yeah. He's a persona, a celebrity, but in the same sense, when he goes and he does a show, it's unfiltered. It's whatever, and people know they can go on there and they can have real conversations about topics.
Like Russell Brand, I couldn't.
Russell Brand, I love
him before, but I have seen him in a.
I love Russell Brand. I love Russell Brand.
I do.
And what a spiritual guy too. I love these guys. They're my because I cut my cable years ago and I don't listen to it anymore. I don't listen to that because it's for porn. I want open conversations. I want people to be able to debate and have different opinions and talk it out. And that's what Russell Brand's done. That's what Joe Rogan's done. They have people on there that they don't agree with, and they just talk it out.
Yep, that's the thing. And you have long discussions so you can hear the whole beginning, middle, and end. Like, let's hear what you're actually standing for. Let's like fact check. That's the other thing. Like, let's fact check what exactly you're saying, so we can actually put it on the table and have a real discussion. And I do think, there's a lot more people demanding that in what we're watching than ever before. Yeah.
Because we know we've been fed crap.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have plenty of history behind me to prove that. That how much we've been lied to on so many issues. And I mean, again, I just, like you said, you were surprised by how many people fell in live. I try not to hate anybody. There's on the other side of the fact, there's people who want you to laugh at the people that are going along with the mainstream media and be derogatory to them, and you shouldn't. You should not judge anybody for the choices they made. Yep. Don't deride them if they're wearing a mask. Don't deride them if they choose to get a vaccine. If you disagree with that, that's stupid. Don't. You should not make fun or do anybody. You should pray for the best for everybody. Nobody knows anything. Nobody's God. Nobody's perfect. And let them be them. You be you. That's all we need. It's just simple respect for each other. Golden rule: treat others as you would wish you'd be treated. Do you want to be treated like crap and yelled at and laughed at and demeaned? No, don't. Peace is every step. Thich Nhat Hanh. That's one of the other spiritual people I fell in love with in my early 20s. That if you want peace, you truly want peace, then you can't wait for others or expect others to do it. You have to take the steps towards peace.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, human design, where did this first, you have your own kind of like, as I was reading your book, your own version of human design in a sense, but what is human design? What is the main, how can you, I don't know how you want to best describe it in a short sense.
Well, I mean, it's an assessment tool that merges the chakra system, astrology, the I Ching, and it helps you to understand yourself. So it's a map of your DNA code. And it's used to help you in your everyday life. So the interesting thing about it is it started in 1987, and it came through a man named Ra Urahu. He had, I mean, talk about a paranormal experience. Seriously, I've never heard anything like this. He had what he called an 8-day encounter with the voice. And so it was 8 days where this voice came through and downloaded this information. And it basically took him 2 decades to kind of bring it out and teach about it. But it's a really, the knowledge comes from merging all of these different systems together. And then you get a map. So you literally get a chart of your own information based on your birth data. So, like the time you're born, the place, and the date. And then you get a map, and you can literally go through because the DNA codes actually mathematically link up with the I Ching. So this is a really interesting study. Also, is the DNA codes, the codons, they merge with the hexagrams mathematically with the I Ching, which is that ancient, wisdom of change,
Yeah.
book of change. And so what Ra did is he put these two together so that you can literally like open up and read your DNA code. And it's so spot on. Like I've worked with now like hundreds of clients, and every single person's like, oh my God, that's me. Like, how did you know that? How did you possibly understand that? And it's really just this incredible system that shows, they call it the art of differentiation. So it's like a way of understanding how different each person's DNA code, how different we are, and helps us to understand what's correct for us, like what's our life purpose, how to live correctly as ourselves. Because I had so much, all these spiritual experiences, but I was in a lot of confusion. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know what to do. I was just very confused on how to have a career, like with all of my spiritual knowledge and all the things I had done. And I was really stuck in a career that was really wrong for me, and I didn't know how to get out. And so this human design piece just really helped me. It was very practical for me, and it was just a piece to the puzzle that really served me and helped me and practically served my life.
I
So
think
it
it's
kind of
brilliant that you put all of this together, because personally, the last, I'd say, 6 or 7 years, I've really started taking it seriously because I started noticing the patterns and how if you just follow it and trust your intuition, it's leading you in the right direction. You can always take another route if you want. It'll help, detour you back to where you're going. But adding everything together, people want to know what everything's about, what's the meaning of this and that, and they want just like a one-word answer and something easy. They don't want to do the work.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's the
if you
American
put in
way.
the work, it just comes to you one day, and all of a sudden it makes sense. And even though you still don't know exactly why, but you still understand what you're going through and what you're doing. And so by you putting all of that together is brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's true. People just want, like, give me what to do and how to do it, you
Give me
know?
a quick
And like,
fix.
and actually, it really does, because it's like it shows there's different aura types. And then with each aura type, you have a strategy. It's not a belief system. It's not something you believe. It's something you experiment with. So you get the map, and then once you get your map, then it's like, okay, here's your strategy. This is for you. This is for you. This is for you. Just try it for 30 days. Try it out for 30 days and see what happens. And it's really profound what happens for people, because things begin to shift immediately when you experiment with it.
I'm fascinated by this because religiously, I believe in a higher power, but I believe in the higher power not as like some entity sitting on a throne or looking over us, or not something that's like that. That's like some conscious entity, but more like a force.
Mm-hmm.
And it reveals itself in the tarot. It reveals itself in the I Ching. It reveals itself in the Fibonacci sequence. It reveals itself in synchronicity. I really believe in synchronicity. Carl Jung, that God speaks to us in a divine way. Well, I believe that's the Force. I'm a Star Wars fan. So Jediism's kind of like the closest thing to my religion. But that I always love Carl Jung's idea of synchronicity, that it is the divine trying to speak to us in the simplest ways. That other realm in some sense, because he was a very spiritual person for a psychologist. That this divine force is trying to communicate, and he would, in one of his books, he relayed some really beautiful examples of his own experiences of this synchronicity. And I believe all that lines up. Everything you're talking about, that we were talking about this last week with our guest about astrology. How does your date of your birth and the stars and that affect your life? I don't know, but there's something to it. How could it constantly line up with people like it does?
Okay, so one of the things that comes through in the human design the human design information is the neutrino stream. And so neutrinos are proven in science, and
Right.
they're little forces of information, and it's kind of like the breath of the stars, and it's moving through the astrological field, and it's moving through our human bodies. So it's like this energy that we're being bombarded with that has information. And so what you're experiencing is influence from the stars and from how these huge planetary elements are moving through space. And so we know it with the moon, because the moon influences our tides. It's something that we experience when
And our bodies are made a lot of water.
Exactly.
We got to go to commercial break, and we're going to open up. You're good with opening phone lines and taking some calls?
Sure.
People want to call in, and we'll continue talking, because there's a lot to talk about. There's deep thoughts here, and taking the red pill, right? Going down the rabbit hole. You put that in. I love the Matrix reference in your book there on that. But we're going to go to commercial. We're going to go to commercial break. When we come back with our guest Raquel Reyna, and we're going to talk about her book, "Are You a Mutant?" Not like the X-Men mutants, right? We'll get to that when we come back from this short commercial break.
Conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419. Or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Raquel Reyna. She's the author of Are You a Mutant? Step-by-Step Human Design Guide to Unleash Your Genius, Understand Your Uniqueness, and Thrive During Times of Transformation. And definitely the world is transforming around us. Like I said, ever since I started the show back in 2015, I felt like suddenly we went from first gear to third gear in transformation, society-wise. So many things have happened. So much has changed. I mean, we are living in, you know, as John Lennon said, no, Mama never told me to be days like these. We're living in strange times. UFO disclosure, you know, are we facing another pandemic? World War III, you know, societal changes, you know, stupid culture wars, all that crap. And we are here just trying to live our lives and be spiritual, right? You want to be spiritual. If you're here, you already took the red pill one time ago. You're here because you realize the world is different than what you've been told. And you've had experiences that have proven that to you. I believe everybody that's watching the show, that's why you tune in, is because you know things aren't as you've been told. And this human design thing is very interesting to me. I believe in this kind of like force, and we can get into tonight talking about all the different aspects of this, your chakras, the I Ching, astrological, all these things I think are, again, the synchronicities of the force that I call it, God or whatever, working its way and trying to make us be our best selves. The force, it tries to guide us if we listen to it. That's what we're getting into tonight. Phone lines are now open. Call in, join the conversation with our guest Raquel Reyna. Let's go ahead and get back to the show. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight, Raquel. We're talking about the human design and the concept of it. Like I said, I've heard of it. it's so fascinating to me. But I'm such a non-voice to the idea. So I want to keep reading your book and get more an idea of this. But you also mentioned at the beginning of your book, yours is a little bit different than some of the others. What makes your kind of human design concept different than the other ones?
Well, human design is an intel that's meant to be mutated. And so, mutated in the way we're explaining it is just taking it and making it your own, making it different. And so, I really do merge my spiritual, my spiritual path, the shamanism, and I got my master's also in spiritual psychology, which is really about understanding how to heal from trauma and from your past patterns, narcissistic abuse, whatever you've experienced. And humans just being here on the planet, most people have had some type of trauma, and it creates grooves in your reality where you're trying to make something happen, or maybe you're trying to start a business, or maybe you're trying to get out. For me, I was trying to get out of a career that was really draining me and making me miserable. And so what I do is I merge all of these things together from a spiritual perspective and use things like the law of attraction and different types of energy work and just my own personal experiences to help share with people how to utilize the information and then how to integrate it into their own life. So it's really a practical tool.
You need practical. I remember when I early on got into like meditation and getting into different spiritual aspects and like, why isn't everybody else getting into this? And then I got older, married, bills, kids, and work, and I'm like, yeah, now I know. It's like, I'll fit that spiritual stuff in sometime in my schedule.
Exactly. Yeah, it is really true. It's hard to like keep up with the spiritual, and it's hard to have a life that, is sort of aligned to what maybe your purpose is, because it's just sometimes it's so hard to take care of the day to day.
Yeah.
And so, for me though, and I think for a lot of people, when you get to the point where you're really uncomfortable or something just really isn't working in your life, or you're in, a relationship that's really painful, or you're trying to change careers, or you're in a financial situation, these kind of things where you really need a little bit of extra guidance. This is where these tools can really, really be helpful.
Now, if somebody wants to start learning like the human design or how to help or change their life, besides getting your book, which we're going to talk about, especially the mutant part I want to get into because you mentioned that, where do they really do start with this? What are the resources they can get?
Yeah, the first thing to do is to get your free chart. So it's free. You find out what your aura type is. You can so if people are curious, you can go to raquelreyna.com and it says get your free human design chart, and you put your birth information in there and it'll pop out, this interesting grid that sort of looks like your chakra system, and it's got lines in it that sort of looks like the Kabbalah, and then it shows you what your type is. And then it shows you just like a couple key things. And that's like a really great place to start, because then you can, literally we have a YouTube channel also where it's like, if you find out you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you can literally go to YouTube and like get the first information about that particular aura type. And so it's just a fun exploration. And then everybody it hits people differently at different times in their lives and different places, just like anything. If it's a piece that you really need and it's something that can really help you, then people will really be longing for the information.
When you say aura type, I got really interested in auras, and I've seen them. I can see them at times on people. I've seen shapes in people's auras and faces and weird stuff like that. But I'm not reading people with their auras. I'm not an expert. I've had the experiences. I don't know what to make of them. But I've been interested in. I remember reading Celestian Prophecy, and they were
Oh yeah.
like had the whole classification, and it seems very, what is the aura types? What is that? Like, like the manifester or the projector or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. The way they explain, the way that this system explains the aura type is a little bit different. There's 4 different aura types, and each aura type interacts with the world in a different way, and each aura has a unique strategy for their life purpose and for manifesting, basically. And so, for example, if we're talking about the law of attraction, which is this notion that your mind creates your reality, right?
Right.
So it's this idea that your frequency will draw in towards you what it is you're vibrating at. And so what human design is saying is that that's sort of true, but like there's only 8% of the population that are manifestors. And a
Yeah,
manifestor,
I know I'm not manifesting things. I'm totally, I'm trying.
yeah, so that's the thing, is only 8% of the population will actually have results using something like the law of attraction in the way that it's explained. And so, you wonder why so many people were like, oh, the secret didn't work, or, the law of
Yeah.
attraction doesn't work, or this doesn't really work. Well, and human design is saying that it's because you have to incorporate your unique way of being in the world, and that each person has a little bit of a different way. And so the aura types are different. It's more about the way that they're shaped and the way they interact with other people.
That's really interesting.
It works for me, and especially this last new moon cycle in August, right beforehand July. I've been manifesting like crazy. I had this whole system set up to how I was using like these 3 moons especially, but it's amazing.
I shouldn't say I shouldn't manifest, that I don't manifest. I have manifested things. This show, it was like one of those things that came out of definitely some kind of manifestation at the time. For me, it works in weird ways. I don't know. I don't have any system. So I'm interested in learning, about, I want to definitely go to this website and find out what my chart says about me, because I believe I need some kind of guidance, to, how do I get in the flow? Like, that's what I pictured it as, like getting in tune with the force or the will.
That's exactly what it is. It's like, I love that you're, both you guys are having these experiences of manifestation, because law of attraction is real. I mean, it does work. It's just that we each can, like you said, get into the flow in a different way. So my aura type is called a projector, and it's, a projector can only manifest in a very specific way. And when they explained everything about projectors, I was like, oh my God, how is it possible that my whole life is just explained? Like, it was so shocking for me. And so I thought, I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to give it a full year and just see what happens. I'm going to really just try it on. And so as I was experimenting with it, I realized that it was so game changing, life changing. Like, every single thing started to manifest in a new way for me. Like, everything started to flow, all the doors started to open, things just began to move in a really elegant way for me. And so it really is, for me, like, I really trust it now. And especially because I've had so many clients that are like, oh yeah, this is me. And they're trying it on. And then, it's just, everyone wants to manifest something. It's like everybody wants to have whatever it is, whether you're, unhappy with your relationship, or you want to make more money, or whatever it is. And if you're doing something that isn't quite correct for you in human design, it gives you like a how to.
I just pulled mine.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah, what's your say? I'm curious.
manifesting
Is
generator.
that quick?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's really easy and fast.
Yeah, it's a manifest. What does it say your inner authority is? So it's manifesting generator,
Sacral.
sacral, and then what? Like, does it say what your profile is? It'll say like a 1-3 or a 4-6,
3-5.
3-5. Yeah, so manifesting. So okay, so sacral manifesting generator, like you are really fast, like super fast, and the manifestation is actually pretty easy for manifesting generators. They are going to have an easier time than some of the other aura types. And the 3-5 is that you learned through trial and error, and you also are a heretic.
Oh yeah, that describes her.
Like the heretic is great because it's just standing for like the seeing the world in a different way. I'm a heretic too, by the way.
Awesome.
Where is it at on your website where she did that?
So
The first box you click, it says click to get your chart.
Oh, I'll totally pass it up right here.
But that sounds really accurate right there.
And the sacral is one that where you can say trust your gut. Like if you're getting a like it's all your gut. And so it's really interesting because that one's really fast and it's a really clear yes or no. And so the more you trust your gut, the better your decisions will be, and everything you manifest will come through your trusting of your gut. And so that one's actually a good one once you learn because you'll get so clear.
And I just had my I would say break. I've had all these ascensions and different levels throughout the years. Usually, like every 2 or 3 years, I kind of would go up another level of understanding. But just recently, probably within the last 8 months or so, maybe a little longer, I had what I called an actual breakthrough where everything just automatically finally just made complete sense. Everything without a doubt. And that's something I use all the time. I tell people, trust your instinct, just trust your gut, trust your gut. That's something I'm always trying to get people to think about.
Yeah, and the manifesting generator really draws things in. It's like the more you the more you can allow things to come to you, the better. Like life comes to you. It's like an attractor. It brings in things, the aura actually brings things to you.
I got mine now.
Okay.
It was really quick.
It's fast, right?
Yeah, it is really quick. So it says I'm a projector.
Oh, you're like me.
So what does that mean?
So which type of projector? Say emotional or splenic?
Emotional
Emotional.
solar plexus.
Okay. So the projector is kind of an interesting aura type. It's 20% of the population, and the projector does actually have a harder time manifesting, although things will come into play, but it has to come through recognition, and it has to come through like once you're recognized and once people want your wisdom, then the doors start to open for you. So projectors have like really keen insight, which you absolutely do. Incredible insight, and they're here to provide their insight for people.
It's weird. I do get people that I don't know very well sometimes suddenly open up to me.
Yeah.
And I'll give them some weird insight sometimes that I'm like, where did that even come from?
That's it. That's exactly it. It's like people actually call it out of you. So it's like when some people are asking for your insight, they'll call it out of you, and you'll be able to like provide insight that you would not have even believed that you knew. But it's great. Do you guys always work together?
Me and Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been, God. I mean, the show's 8 years old, and Jamie came in almost the first year, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. The first year?
Yeah.
So, like,
so
this
she's
is
been
such
with you
a
almost the
good
whole time.
match. like if you were to say like what would be the best match for a projector to have support in my show, I'd be like, get a sacral manifesting generator. So you guys like manage to like get the right like partnership. So
we need to find. We have another one
I
too. Is
told you
Rob?
that we all got brought together for a reason.
Yeah, we did. There's another co-host couldn't join us tonight. That's been part of the show just as long as Rob. I don't know I wouldn't be able to know his information to know what he is, but it'd be interesting to find out. We're gonna have to get Rob to do it.
He doesn't know his exact time. His birth certificate doesn't have it on it either.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Knows an idea. So I was asking him the other day when I was looking.
The only reason I remembered mine is because last week's guest was an astrologer, and I had to reach out to my mom like, "What time was I born again?" I have to ask you because I forget.
Nice. Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. You can use it for business. You can use it for. It shows you like why certain partnerships work really well together, and it shows you how to get the most out of your relationships and where there could be potential hot spots. It shows you, all these kind of assessment tools are sort of revealed in the information. And so it is a really fascinating exploration. Projectors are, they're not designed to work as many hours.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great, but that's not happening. But I am designed not to work a lot of hours. You're not wrong about it. I don't want to. I work the average 40.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you can do it. It's not that you can't. But,
I'm supposed to be free, right? I'm supposed to be free from, but that hasn't happened.
Well, it's just that they actually will, they can get a lot more done in less amount of time. And so projectors are meant to work a little bit less and get more done within those hours. It's hard if you have a full schedule, you have kids, you're working. But it's just one of those little pieces of information that slowly over time you start to see a little bit how that aura works. But yeah, so the projector has sort of a laser aura type, and the laser like shoots out and provides guidance and insight. And so it's it's the archetype of sort of like the lighthouse providing sort of light for people.
Oh, wow, yeah. Well, like I said, I've just had that a lot where I have people that just come to me suddenly open up, and I'm like a bit uncomfortable with how much you're opening up with me, but I won't tell them that.
Well,
but it's like,
why
isn't it? I'm getting Zach
all the time.
Zach's trying to call in, but it's like I'm hitting accept and it's not taking it. Zach, I might have to try to get you on a different line. It's like glitching out my phone.
Mercury.
Yeah, it's definitely Mercury. It won't even let me cancel it or close it out and try to call it back. That's weird. Might have to shut it down and restart. Hold on, Zach. Zach's trying to call in. It won't even let me shut it down. It's like totally screwed up my phone. Like, the little slide bar to shut it off. Won't move.
Mercury retrograde.
It is, man. Maybe now that it stopped, it's like totally locked it up. Let me try to grab it on. I got somebody else calling on the sideline. Let me get that person. All right, you're on the phone. Who do we got?
Rob.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I'm looking at my chart, and I'm interested in it, but I don't understand what it means.
What
I
is
got my human design chart looking at here.
Give me a couple of the things that it says on there.
Okay. It says that I'm a type generator.
Okay.
And
what's
my
the
strategy. What's that?
The inner authority.
Emotional solar plexus.
Okay. And then when is his profile?
5/1.
Okay, we got another heretic in the house. Okay,
That
so
is nothing new.
you know what would be fun? It would be interesting. I bet on this channel there's a lot of heretics around. So the 5/1, the one is the investigator, and that's somebody who
Mhm.
really likes to research. So somebody who that research the things that you're really passionate about and you're interested in. And
That is on point.
are you like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm actually an investigator too, and I love to learn. People who love to learn and love to go deep and are
Yeah.
really interested in the depth and the exploration. And then the emotional inner authority is the exact opposite to the sacral that we were talking about. The emotional inner authority is, the thing about the emotional is that there's an exploration through the emotional wave. And sometimes people who are emotional, the opposite thing has happened to them where they've been told to push their emotions down, or they've been told don't cry, or you shouldn't show your emotions. I don't know where you are in your emotional journey, but sometimes people who are emotional generators, the first thing I try and do is get them to feel their emotions.
Right. I'm more in the stage in which I'm working on being more in connection with my emotions. Um, I mean, all that about suppressing emotion and stuff, that's like the military, and that's kind of like the world I came from years ago. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting. The emotional being is guided by how they feel and the depth of how they feel. And so the more you can feel, the better. And if you're already doing that, then you're right on. You're right on. And as a generator, the strategy is to respond to life, which is about calling in the synchronicities, responding to synchronicities, and emotional is about feeling and the depth of feeling. And so, the more investigation you do on those things, like I said, if we have a YouTube channel. It's Raquel and Davidian is the YouTube channel, Unleash Your Genius. And we have videos on being a generator, on being emotional. And so you can take each one of those things, the emotional, the generator, and just kind of explore that a little and see if it resonates with you.
right. I am. There are a couple things that I guess you could say I'm concerned about on my chart,
Okay.
and that has to do with, let's see, digestion, closed, motivation, fear, and I'm
Okay.
kind of wondering what do those mean?
All right. So the digestion close just means that you really need to be really hyper picky about what you're eating. And,
Okay.
I got that one too.
What do you have that one too?
Yeah, and I'll talk about it after him.
Yeah, so it's really about not eating things because people tell you to, like, oh, it's really good for you to eat A, B, and C. So the closed system is really about only choosing things that really are something that feels like you want to eat that, and being really, really picky. And these are the kind of things I teach the parents, because it's like, if your kid is like closing and like, I don't want to eat that,
Oh
it's
yeah,
about like not
got two
forcing
of them.
them.
Two of them that do that.
Which category is that one?
Which is
Digestion.
digestion. Yeah, and then the fear, the motivation fear is really about it's not something to be afraid of. The fear is actually leaning in towards the curiosity. So doing the things that sort of are, that make you a little bit nervous, like doing those things that you're curious about the unknown, leaning into the unknown, exploring what you don't know, and leaning in towards that. So it's not a fear-based thing. It's more about fear as the ultimate teacher, meaning fear when it's done out of curiosity is actually a really positive force for those people who have fear.
Well, see, like my motivation today, like, is to confront fears, to face them, and to move through them.
Yes.
You know, like if something I find fearful, like like something I feel fear towards, I kind of want to. It's like I want to push myself to go towards there.
That's it.
You know what I mean? It's like fear is like a motivation for me to break walls. Like if there's a fear, like I feel like there's a wall there, there's a blockage, something holding me back, and it's probably something of the past, something embedded in my subconscious, and I need to youngify and break through that.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what that motivation is about. Yep.
Okay. Can I ask? I know there's a few other there that I totally clueless on, but can I ask you about one more?
Yeah.
I'll just do this one. Definition, split definition.
Okay. So what that means is that there's two different parts of yourself. I'd have to see exactly where it is in your chart, because it's the way you can see is there's these lines, and the shapes kind of look like a person, like the chakra system. And so
Yeah,
when
I see it
there's a
right.
split, it's usually like maybe the emotional center isn't communicating with the head. So it's like having two separate parts of yourself not communicating. So it's like you have one aspect of you, but I don't know where it is in your chart. I'd have to actually see where the split is, because it could be in the heart, it could be in the emotional center, but it just means that there's two separate places that have a different agenda. So it's like maybe your thoughts are over here and your emotions are over here, and they have a hard time linking up.
I feel like that is true because I've been working on the whole thing of like Neville Goddard's like law of assumption
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing about manifesting.
Yes.
And I feel like, I have what I want, I know what it is I want to manifest, but the emotional aspect that's necessary and essential, basically it's direly essential in order to manifest and to bring those things into reality. It's like it does not want to connect when I want it to. It's like I'm trying to conjure up that mood, that feeling of faith, of already having. And it's like it's not doing it. It's like something, it's just like, no, not today. And it's like it is frustrating. It frustrates me.
That is really, I have to say, that's one of the best descriptions I've heard for split definition not manifesting, because what I love about human design is it really helps you for distinction. Why certain people manifest easily, why people need more support in different areas. And the split definition is one of those areas that is hard to manifest because things are split. And the way you just explained it is actually really good. Like, I got to use that in my next book, actually, because it's exactly that.
Go for it.
Emotional cannot get to the place where it's supposed to manifest. But the best thing to remember on that for the emotional is to take your time. And emotional beings are not meant to be fast. Okay, so Jamie, the MG with the sacral, she's the fastest one in the room. She is meant to be fast. Okay, but for the emotional being, they're meant to be a little bit slower. They need to slow down, take their time. And that's the other thing, is like everyone's here to kind of do life just a little bit differently. So if you can slow down and go deeper rather than faster, then actually the manifestation happens faster.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's why my not self theme is frustration.
What's that?
Maybe that's why my not self theme is frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I feel like, I'm trying to get into myself, but it's like, it's not happening. So like, I'm not in my full self, my God self. And I know it's there. I know it exists, and I know it's ready to do things at will. I mean, it's always manifesting, particularly subconsciously.
Right.
We're always manifesting things, but based on my will, it's like there's something blocking, doesn't want to happen. And I feel like I'm not in my true self at that time. It's like I'm not reaching that center, and it does frustrate me.
That's exactly it. So, and the frustration means we call that your not self. So that's when you're going against your truth. And so, in order to get back into the true self, is just to go deeper into the emotional flow and do things that satisfy you. Call things to you, because the generator is actually pulling things in, and then respond to the synchronicities. When you see a synchronicity, then you take action, but don't take action until after that. So you want to wait until, so the waiting to respond is waiting the emotional depth until you get an outside confirmation, and it'll move through the frustration. The frustration will go away.
Okay.
It does. Yeah, it really does.
Okay. I didn't catch every single bit of that, but I'll listen back later.
Oh, maybe that phone line was connected out. But thank you, Rob, for calling in.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Oh, what was it that I was going to get to there? For one, Zach, if you can try calling on the side of the 219-230-4444. I have a whole phone system that's totally inoperable now. I don't know why. Probably needs an update. It won't even let me shut down to do that. What was it that we were talking about?
If I can ask real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will your book then explain this chart more in depth?
Yeah, the book actually goes step by step. So if you have your chart, yeah, it really does. It's a really fun guidebook. So it goes step by step. It'll take you through type, and then it takes you through your inner authority. And then I do some fun things, like a lot about manifestation, just because I find it really fun. And so it goes through each kind of place. I try and break it down really simply so anybody can understand it.
We got the phone lines blowing up here. We got another call on the line. Who do we have?
Hey, Jason, it's Zach. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Zach. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the whole phone line. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, it's no problem at all. Hey, Raquel, it's very nice to meet you. So my questions that I have, I just had two questions. They're related over to my chart that I went through. And I was hoping maybe you can elaborate a little further for me so I can better understand it. My first question is, under not self theme is described to me as frustration. Can you elaborate for me what not self theme means and just what frustration should mean over to me?
Yeah. So one of the things that human design talks about is what we call our not self. And it says that most people are living through the conditioning elements. They're living through what they were told to do, what their parents said for them to do, or what they think they should do. And so, what it does when you're living in your not self is it creates a theme. And the theme of frustration means that as a generator or manifesting generator, you're not using your life force in the right direction. So you're not using your life force in order to fully satisfy your, life purpose. And so the not self theme of frustration is when you're feeling frustrated, you're off the mark.
Okay. All right. And then for design sense, it says outer vision over for me. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that means? What does it mean for me?
Yeah, the outer vision is about how you see the outside world. And a lot of synchronicity, like if you notice synchronicities and you see, so for example, if you're drawing in, you're wondering, which direction to take, let's say. So you're calling in a sign and you see, maybe when you think about going in a certain direction, you all of a sudden see an outside hummingbird or a butterfly or something that kind of symbolizes that. That's sort of a sign for you. And outer vision is people who can really see things outside of themselves really well. Like maybe even having visions, actually seeing things. Depending on where you are with that, whatever it is that you're seeing, it's something that you can rely on. It's a sense that you can use for your guidance system.
Okay, cool. Well, those are all the questions that I had. Thank you very much for answering them. I greatly appreciate it.
You're
Thank
so
you, Zach.
welcome.
All right, guys. Have a good night and have a happy Labor Day.
You too.
Nice to meet you. Happy Labor Day.
It was before Rob. We were talking about the digestion. Mine was closed. Is that I went through this. One of the things COVID did was make me stop eating fast food, and like my whole system changed. And like I bring a veggie meal to work. I'm not a vegetarian, but I like cut back on my meat. Because I was eating a ton of red meat. I would go out and eat McDonald's or Arby's or whatever. Like I would eat the worst of the worst. And now I, taking vitamins. Even before COVID started, I had this sense like something was coming, and I started taking vitamins, started drinking OJ, and like started getting where I didn't want to eat the fast food anymore. So something changed there, and I feel like I've greatly benefited from the diet change.
Wow, that's exactly what closed did. That's what closed. It's just all of a sudden there's like a no. And it's like I can't do that anymore. That's amazing that you were able to listen to that, because it's the closed digestion should be picky. Like you should really be picky about
I've always
what
been a
you're
picky
eating.
eater. I was back when I was a kid. I was a very picky eater. We got somebody else on the phone line I want to get to. Who do we got? 860 area code?
This is Adrian. Hey, I'm lucky I have open digestion. I can eat what I want.
Enjoy.
I was looking at the chart. Yeah. This is such an interesting conversation. It goes in depth to everybody, everyone as an individual.
Yes.
And what I've learned now, and it's so important this late in life. I'm 64 now, but I became a widow in 2017. And being alone, be it 10 minutes or weeks, it is so beneficial to have time for yourself, because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. We forget to take care of ourselves. And right now I had bought a little journal, and I'm taking all these note cards from years worth of all these cool sayings and interviews from people like you. I jot down notes that mean something, and I made contents, and I'm writing away. And I think people need to spend more time knowing themselves, because everybody has some kind of gift, be it intuition. My hindsight's fantastic. Yeah,
100% hindsight.
Right. I got that ability too.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
it's like the W on your palm.
So, yeah, I do have some awesome traits, but in other ones I'm like, darn, I missed it. I've been doing that all my life. I knew that was going to happen. I could have said that 3,000 times by now at my age, But now that I'm alone, I can probably write down cues. If you have an altar, sit at it for a little bit. Even if you have kids and you're married, take 10 minutes. Find a chair and sit by a favorite window. People can understand if you just need a little time. Maybe buy your book, start reading it. Yeah, I think so. Did you say you had a book out?
Yes, the book is Are You a Mutant? And it is available now, or the Audible book. I just had somebody tell me today that they were writing in it and taking notes and using the book, and I'm like, that's great. And so yeah, it's a good way to discover yourself. And so congratulations on being alone. I think that's an exciting new chapter in your life, because I think being a widow, it's really hard, and I'm sorry for your loss. But it's also a renaissance. It's an opportunity for a new evolution of who you are and yourself. And, a lot of people, a lot of women, they give so much over taking care of the families. And so it's so wonderful that you have time for yourself now.
Yeah, it's like coming out of the fire, all brand new. It's like an alchemical reaction at my age, and we transform. Can I ask one quick question? Because I do understand the chart that I got off your site, but what do those numbers mean? It says left angle cross of alignment, and there's a 27/28, then a 19/33. That's the only thing I can't really figure out.
Yeah, so the incarnation cross is really your life purpose. So you went straight to the deepest one. And the life purpose isn't something that anyone can teach you. It's something that you surrender to. They call it it's kind of has a biblical slant to it, although wasn't intended to. It's called the incarnation cross. And the only way to get there is to surrender onto your cross. So it's like surrendering to the truth of who you are. And so that is explaining the truth of who you are. And yours is interesting because it has a little bit of struggle to it, but it also has the new mutation. The 19 is where the new mutation is happening. And it has a lot to do, with the connection to the animals too. What's that, Jason?
So then I'm not a mutant? I don't have a 19.
Oh no, there's
an X-Men.
There's just being a projector itself is a mutant.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a mutant. Yes.
But I mean,
those numbers.
Go ahead.
Spot on. Totally, those numbers are so spot on. I finally figured out my life purpose about maybe a few years ago, but even more refined now a few months ago. So I'm good. Yeah, I'm a happy girl. And thank you for all you've offered us, and I'll continue to listen. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Adrian. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Yep.
I got right angle cross of rulership, 45, 26, 22, 47.
Yeah, so that one's interesting too, because that's a lot of leadership. That's a lot.
See, and one of the things I've always liked, I end up in leadership roles, but I'm like the reluctant leader.
The reluctant leader.
Yeah.
That is part of that, is the reluctance, but also it needs to be, it kind of needs to be voted by the people. People need to put you in that. It's not something you can say, this is what I'm going to do. It's like people need to be like, please, lead us in a way.
It's about the only way I end up there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it's natural. It's natural for you.
What about the right angle cross of the Sphinx? And I did just order your book.
Aw, thank you. Can you read the gate numbers?
2, 1, and 13-7.
2, 1, and 13-7. So yeah, that has a lot of leadership too. A lot of creative, individual expression of leadership as well. And it's all around higher love, higher awareness.
Thank you.
That sounds like her.
Yeah.
One of the things I saw in here, I was like, oh, that got it dead on, was the environment. It says mountains. It's like if I could, people are like, I want to live on the beach. I want to live, I want to live in the mountains. That's where I don't live in the mountains. I live in Indiana, but where I wanted to always live, because I used to go to Red River Gorge, Kentucky, and foothills, and that. But even there would be great. I just like the Smoky Mountains, especially.
So hopefully, eventually, you'll get there.
I hope.
Well, the thing is about mountains also is if you need some time to reflect, go to a high perch or the highest spot in your house, or like if there's any balconies or any views or
Not
any
in my
place
house. I wish.
if there's any place you can get to, like a peak or a view or like a high rise, anything like that?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. My son always says, "When we get a new house, I want a second story." But no, I have nowhere. I used to be a place because I'm out by Lake Michigan, and like I said, I'm not a beach person. I don't like the beach, but I used to like to go up to Mount Baldy before it really started getting dangerous. There's some good, beautiful, really like perch spots that I'd try to go to in my 20s and like just decompress, but otherwise, no.
Well, here's the other thing is that mountains is also metaphorical in that it's the highest perspective in the room. Seeing from the highest perspective is also
seeing all the angles.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're actually doing that here. This is your mountain.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, if anything was, I could see as manifesting the most experiences I had with it has been this show with certain guests that I got that I, never thought I'd have, and where we've come so far. I mean, we're not a huge show, but I'm very proud of the great audience we have, and Facebook, YouTube, and on the internet, radio, and that. But, I still have to work a 9 to 5. Well, it's not a 9 to 5 job. I work retail. I'm all over the place, but I still have to pay the bills and do that. This doesn't pay the bills. I do this because I love it. I love being able to. This is I call it my church.
Yeah.
I don't have like a religion I belong to or a place to be spiritual. This is where I get to commune with others spiritually.
Yeah. So maybe eventually this will turn into the place where you can, have your income and create that. I mean, is that something that you want?
I would, but I'm not a horrible business person with the show. I'm great at the host. I'm bad at the other stuff, at marketing and business and like making money off of it. Yeah, not good at that. The business part, I'm like, yeah, no. I've had a lot of good people come through and try to help me and give me advice, try to turn this into something. And I'm like, I'm not a business person. But I do it because I to me, like I said, I needed an outlet, because it's hard to talk about these things with your friends, family, and coworkers. You don't talk about these subjects usually. I needed somewhere to have these, seeker of truth kind of conversations and different perspectives. And this great thing, technology has its evils and its good, and this is one of the goods, is that we all can have a place we can come together and share these experiences.
I absolutely agree. I think sometimes there's a real beauty of coming to it without an agenda, just coming to it to be here and to have it be this place. And, who knows how it's going to unfold. It might take off in a way for you, depending on what is correct for you, what it is that you want. But I think there's something that's really beautiful about just being here and letting it be this space where people can come. I mean, I just love being here. I'm so happy to be with you guys. Seriously, like this is just like the energy just feels so fantastic to just be here and share and like have these conversations. And it's amazing. I think what you're doing is really special. And I think that if it is something that when the time is right for it to be monetized, I bet it'll happen on its own.
Yeah, I make a little bit, enough to pay the bills, half of them. For this show, and then to all the Patreons out there, we do have a Patreon. You can donate money on there. If anybody wants to do that, or super chat on YouTube. Shameless plugs, But the thing is, it's like if I get caught up in like the business side of it, I feel like it's going to ruin it. And I know that's wrong. I know I should do more on the business side of the show and try to get more out there with it. But I don't know. That's the not fun part. I'm a small child inside. I know.
Well, sometimes that does happen. I mean, it does happen on its own. Like it does, sometimes those things start to manifest without you really needing to do anything that you don't want to do.
I think the first time I ever really like got an idea how powerful manifestation was, or the idea or concept of it, is when I was a young kid, I found a book my mom had on her shelf called, it was Edgar Cayce, The Sleeping Prophet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really a chronicle of like his life and experiences, but besides the amazing abilities and what was going on. But it seemed like in his life he would do that. Like they never had a lot of money, but when they needed something, it would manifest. Like, he would spend money on a new fishing pole. His wife's like, we got to pay bills. He's like, it's all right. It'll be taken care of. Like those kind of things, those kind of stories, ideas, somebody like that, who's having this crazy spiritual, in a way, experience to, live a very humble life, but always just have this faith that things will be taken care of.
That's it. I mean, I think what human design says is that if you're living your truth, that the universe will always provide and will always provide for you to live correctly as yourself. And so if you lean into that, then you're provided for. And if you lean into being yourself, it's you don't exactly know how you're going to have the money, but it's always there.
The other way, I really, and I've talked with other parents about this, is when you have kids. It's like when we had our first son, we came home from the hospital, we had foreclosure notice on our door. We were having so much money problems and struggling. And it's like, how are we going to raise this child and do this? And I remember having a number of different parents, including my mom and others, say, you'll get through it. You find a way. Things happen, opportunities come. It's like life finds a way, you'll make it. Because I was totally freaking out when we had our first kid, But it's true. It's like it did seem like better opportunities in life and things manifested to help us be at least decent parents.
Wow. That's a really intense story, actually.
Yeah, it was, talk about the happiest day of your life, coming home with your child and then finding that on your doorstep, and you got a wife who's going through all this, hormonal, and just went through, C-section, coming home with the child, how emotional that was, and to have that, it was a really tough period, but we got through it, and it was, in a sense, like its own manifestation, the things that came about to, get our life in the direction. We got to go to our last commercial break. We got a half hour left, and we'll let people call in. Jamie's had the website up in there, but what is the website again?
RaquelReyna.com.
Just RaquelReyna.com. You'll see it right there. I totally missed it when I was looking at it, but yeah, it's like one of the first things there. If you want to fill out your chart, call in, but you don't. She's not going to give you a full reading on it. You want to check out her book if you really want to learn about your chart. Is Are You a Mutant? Step-by-step human design guide to unleash your genius and understand your uniqueness and thrive during times of transformation. Boy, they are times of transformation. We're going to go to our last commercial break here. We'll be back. Phone lines will be back open when we come back, so just hang on after the short commercial break.
Intercepted transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, be gone.
You're listening to The Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Raquel Reyna. She is the author of Are You a Mutant? Step-by-Step Human Design Guide to Unleash Your Genius, Understand Your Uniqueness, and Thrive During Times of Transformation. Now, on the phone lines, the 219-230-4444, that works. I think the other phone line, that should work. But one of the Skype lines, I think it's the OOJ Bland 00, that one is down. That whole phone line is down. I can't get that to work. So you definitely can make it in, though, on those two phone lines or on the other Skype, the Paranormal Soup or J Bland Paranormal Soup. Or no, Paranormal Soup J Bland. Forget my own dang phone lines. Call in on those. Join the conversation. Let me make sure they are open now. The phone lines are now back open. Got half hour left with our guest, Raquel Reyna. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Thank you for staying up late with us here, Raquel, for this last half hour of the show. I I find, like I said, the whole thing is so fascinating to me. I can't wait to dive more into your book and like get some answers to like my own purpose or trying to figure out. I feel like I do know, like, my purpose is this, like doing this is what fulfills me, and being a father, watching my two boys grow up. Those are like my two main purposes in life, is this show and them, them number one, when it comes down to it. But this show is like my outlet, like I said, my church and my place to commune with others of like-minded. And some disagree. We all have different beliefs and philosophies, but to put our notes together, as I always call it, to try to discover what is this reality we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that exploration is why we're here. And it's really just a fun journey to explore, our purpose, but also just a little bit more about ourselves and what makes us tick. And the other thing that is kind of interesting is I have a lot of people that use this to help, with their being a great parent too, because we're all, maybe not so much now, but like my generation, we were kind of told what to do, and we were sort of, kind of put in this like line. This is, you do this, you go to college, you get a job, you do A, B, and C, and you kind of figure it out, and you take on the religion of your parents, and all of these things. And there's what, this idea of conditioning. It's a conditioning element. And so one of the main things that I haven't talked about at all that the book talks about is the chakra system. And so if you've heard of the Kundalini, or you've heard of
I've
Kundalini,
had my experiences.
yeah, those Kundalini experiences, Kundalini awakening, it's through the chakra system. And so that is also another really fun piece about this system, is learning how the chakras operate in this way. It's very different than what other teachers talk about. And then you also get to learn like why your kids might be different. Like, what's the difference between your two kids, and what little things can you do to help support each one of your kids to find out, how they can thrive in their uniqueness, in their unique way of being. And so it's helpful for those people who are parents too.
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, I got a 7 and a 12-year-old. Would I be able to run their birth date and time and all that in there and look at that and then kind of decipher it through the book?
Exactly. Yeah, just find out, how different they are. Mm-hmm. And it really helps. I mean, it really helps to understand, the different elements to each one of your kids, because it helps to assist in, just clarifying a little bit about ways in which they need to be differentiated. I mean, it's not like you can't notice it. Oh, this one has this interest and this one is interested over here, and you kind of help cultivate the difference. Actually, my parents were really good at that. Me, my brother and sister are so friggin' different. We're each so different, and they let us kind of be different. They let us explore the things that we liked. But not every parent does that. And I think you can do it naturally, but it helps sometimes to understand, each child is different. It's really funny too, because one of my friends who wasn't into human design at all, her school sent out a newsletter that said, oh, if you want to help your kids, look at this new thing called human design. Really? And she's like, yeah. And she was like, Raquel, oh my God, the school's talking about human design. So
that's
getting a little trendy.
Jamie, you said there's a question from the chat room?
Yeah, Turquoise doesn't know her birth time, so she wants to know if she should put noon.
Oh, that's a good question. So if you don't know your birth time, what I recommend doing is run the chart in the morning, the afternoon, and at the evening, and just look at the major things like the aura type and the inner authority, and just see if those things change. So
what more aligns to you?
What's that?
they could look at certain things like, yeah, that aligns to me, you know.
Exactly. And some people, there's no changes throughout the day. So it's just, you can see like whatever time of day on that day, it's very possible that it's going to be the same. But if it's a really big change, like in the morning you're a manifester and then in the evening you're a generator or something like that, then it's going to be harder to figure out. You have to read and see which one you feel the most aligned with.
Now that's interesting. Actually, I wonder if I got the time right on there. I don't remember. I think I did. There's like a little picture and design thing that comes up too with a lot of different elements. What is that you get? Like it shows like the kind of the chakra system looks like, or whatever, with like different symbols and stuff next to it.
Yeah.
Is this part of the whole chart? Yeah.
Yeah. So the chakra system. So in human design, they say that we evolved from a 7-centered being to a 9-centered being. And so that was the process that we went through in 1781. And now we're in a new mutation and we're in a new evolutionary stage with humanity. A lot of spiritual teachers say that we're in a new spiritual evolutionary
So like people
stage.
before that time had the 7 chakra system and now it's like a 9 chakra system.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then we're moving into the new evolution is actually transcending the mind. So the mind was the place that got us to where we are now, the thinking, with humanity being able to create the banks, create capitalism, create the grids. And, so this was the power of the thinking mind. And so what it's saying is now, however, it's run its course. And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, how when people go into their fear and then the mind distorts reality.
Yeah.
And there's like a distortion. And so what they're saying is that we need to transcend the mind and move into a place where there's a greater intelligence. And the greater intelligence, according to human design, is through the vehicle intelligence, or what some people might call is the passenger consciousness, where you can evolve into seeing the world from a higher perspective, basically.
We definitely need a higher perspective.
Yeah, a different one.
Yeah. Move past the fear and the fear porn that you get in your media and your, all the stuff, the vitriol and division between everybody. So we need to move past that and learn how to, understand other people, see stuff from other people's perspectives, put yourself in somebody else's shoe, empathy,
Absolutely. And then the other piece that I love about this is it's saying, and we kind of touched on this too when we were talking about it, is like each person is designed to think in their own way and make their own decisions. And so the greatest gift that human design is giving you is claiming your own authority and not letting anybody make a decision for you, but learning how to make a decision based on your own unique self. And so it's giving the power, and it kind of takes the power back from everything, like even the gurus or even, the shamans, taking the power back from anybody that you let have any type of authority over you, and puts it back into each person, saying each person has the ability to make their own decision.
I mean, that's what we need. That's the whole argument that's been happening is, people's rights and freedoms, to be who they want to be.
That's it. And I think because so many people actually are claiming their own authority, I really do feel that they are, whether with or without human design. I think that's why there's so much control, is because they're feeling that they're losing their grip. And so they're gripping for it. And even though if we look out, it looks like they're gaining control, it's just that they're having like their last kind of attempt to try and control people. So many people are in a place of freedom right now that I think it's really more, the illusion is that they are controlling. I think more people are like, no, I will not be controlled. That's what I think, but I
Yeah.
also, sometimes see the best in the world.
I have hope in my chart. Is that part of the? Is there motivation?
It is.
Hope. Yeah.
That's hope. That's exactly what
Yeah.
hope is like being able to see like the highest perspective, and knowing like the hope is also one that can really see the positive change, and knowing what will change and what won't change.
Yeah. I'm trying to have hope. I want to have hope. That we will change. I see it. I see the perspective changing in people, and the people more like, I'm not going to do this again. Especially with, like, the latest COVID deal. I see people that had the fell for the fear perspective aren't anymore.
Right.
They've woken up to it, or they're done.
Yeah.
And I think it also gave people a lot of time to have self-reflection during that time that it made people stop. So that was one good thing about it. It made people stop and reflect about, who am I? What am I doing? A lot of people changed careers during that time period, and that's what we do need. We need to stop and reflect. Who am I? What am I here for? What am I doing? Some people they're just going along. It's just keep getting up every day, going to work, and they're just not saying they're mindless zombies. No, but they become like a zombie in a sense, because you're just you never stop. You're just in this constant flux of going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that is really an important point. I do think that that was the gift of COVID, was even though it did increase a lot of the mental anxiety and the mental instability. But what that also did was show us how uncomfortable we are with our own thoughts and with our own way of being. Our being alone is really it either you either went nuts, or you were able to find the peace and the stillness and transcend it just a little bit. And I do think that any tool, anything you can do to assist yourself in being able to self-actualize and self-reflect and being, aligned with your truth, is a positive thing. And there are a lot
Yeah.
of tools right now. There's a lot of tools available. Like this human design, this is one tool, but there's a lot of tools available.
Many doors of the Dharma. There's
Exactly.
but you have to want and look to do it. You have to, it has to be something inside a person to, stop the conundrum of your everyday existence and inner reflect and really ask those questions. And I think the world's waking people up to that, because it's gotten so crazy and so many different levels, that more people are waking up and not trusting the institutions. And like you said, it's that control. Like, I do feel like it is like the wheels, there was a plan and there's an agenda, and the wheels went off the tracks. And they're trying to regroup and recontrol, and they're going after our food. They're going after our medical choices. They're going after us in our thought police. Yep. And censorship. There's all these things it's becoming more obvious to people how corrupt things are, not just in our country, but around the world. And it's not like they just suddenly are corrupt and we're just noticing, they've been corrupt for a long time. A long time. And now people are, more people than ever, I think, have woken up to that.
I think it was very hard for people to accept the corruption, because it's so hard to believe. It really is. Like the level of corruption. I think it took a lot of people a long time, and still some people aren't willing, especially when it comes to like the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals and all that. It's so.
Well, I've always said it comes down to this: is if for some people, if they accept the fact that you have to investigate, you can't just trust everything that these, you're being told, then they're like, then everything's out. Then the world's coming down, the sky is falling. They can't let go to that. They have to have some institution and principle, and big government and brother has got my back.
Yeah.
When they don't.
Absolutely, but I do think that it is like, I do think this is the time where it is falling, because it's like You know, I think people do have far less trust. I mean, even things like going to college and the student loans. Just that alone is like a huge criminal enterprise. The fact that kids are coming out of
Oh, preach it,
college
sister.
with like $100,000 of debt, right? Okay,
For a
so
liberal arts degree, you know.
I mean, forget about it. What are you going to even do? You can't even make any money from these friggin' things. So even just that alone, people are like, wait a minute, there's something not right there.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but you can see that pretty much across the board. So I do think more and more we're seeing it, you know, but then it goes into, like we were saying earlier, the overwhelm. And then it's like, okay, then how do I process all the anger and how do I process all of that? But that's all part of the spiritual awakening, because you do have to process it. And then you do have to get to the other side where there is a space of knowing and clarity. And there is that space of where you can hold those higher awarenesses and we can get to the place of freedom. Freedom is an inside job.
Yeah. The freedom has to be here and here. You know.
That's what actually kicked me into my whole breakthrough, was all of this, and how, because I already knew it was coming. I already saw this a long time ago. It's just having to process actually living in it now. I actually put the wrong time in when I ran mine. I didn't use military time. It's still pretty much.
That's what I'm wondering. I did. How do you redo it?
There's a little part you can check. Right by where your little person is, right above it, it says create a new chart or download PDF.
Ah, okay.
And so my motivator is actually fear. Motivation, fear.
Okay, so that is, you know, that it's not a bad thing. Actually, the fear motivation is leaning into the curiosity and doing the things that kind of excite you, you know, leaning into the things that are just a little bit scary for you. And the people who have fear are the ones who have a balanced approach to things that are unknown. It's the other people that have the panic around the fear. So that's what's really funny, because, you know, there's the not self theme. Well, everybody else who's not fear are the ones that are living in the panic.
That's true. And then the profile is actually 4/6. I can't remember.
Okay, well, so then we were wrong about the heretic then, if you're 4/6.
Okay.
That's a little different. I know, darn it. Which profile were you, Jason?
I just lost mine. I backed out, and I'm like trying to figure out how to get back. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to. Yeah, I'm gonna go to home. Nope, I lost it. I screwed it up. I don't know how I screwed that up though. It's like it changed. Oh, I lost it. Yeah, I lost it. I don't know. I took a screenshot actually, but it was the wrong time. It is the wrong time because I realized I too realized it was a military time. Yeah, I'll have to do it again.
Yeah, you do have to make sure you double check that military time. But the 4/6 is an interesting profile too. It's about the being a networker and being like connected to a lot of people, and the 6 also goes through 3 life stages. So like coming to the things, the spiritual awakening that you've been through, that is really like part of that 6 line, is going through those huge transformations where your whole life, I mean, like even sometimes with the 6, their whole reality changes.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, a lot of people even change their name, you know, like where it's something so different, like their whole world, their body, their mind, their name, like everything changes. So
we've had a numerology guy on here that did that, you know, to change his like numerology.
yeah, that's an interesting study too. I would love to learn about that.
He actually told me to put, with my numerology, to put a golden 3 on my mailbox and address, which I did. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
what
like I had to go. So it's to like attract like the right energy, I don't know, make my mail better. Maybe because it's on my mailbox.
Interesting. Love that.
You know, that was what, a year ago, I think we had him on. I'm trying to remember the guest's name. I was trying to get it to come back up. Sorry, I got distracted. I was trying to with my human sharp get the right time in, but I was trying to like enter a new email or whatever, and it's locking up like my other phone did. Weird. Not your website. I don't know what it's doing. I might have to get that to work because I'm interested to see what it says because I totally realized I probably put in the wrong time.
Yeah, it is good to note for people to recheck their birth time because, especially with the area of the digestion and the motivation, that will change really
Yeah, that
fast.
definitely changed for me.
Yeah, those change pretty quickly.
And the digestion makes more sense now because it changed to closed, and that's what I thought I should be.
Is that what you? Yeah. Yeah, so it is a good reminder for people to just kind of double check that. And, you know, once you learn about it too, you can kind of start to filter through. So I never found my birth time. So I just ran mine throughout the day. And then I finally started to be able to narrow it down once I learned a little bit more about it. So eventually you can figure it out.
That's what I think a lot of people have problems with because we've had, you know, the numerologist and we've had the astrologer, and a lot of times like people are like, I don't know my birth time, you know, that's a hard one for people.
Yeah, it really is. I think that there's some birth certificates for whatever reason they didn't put the times on them.
All right, I
I'm
almost
just
got
so
it. I want to see if
excited
it
to start reading this book. Like, I cannot wait for it to come. You came by. I believe everything again happens for a reason, and just you being here tonight, perfect timing. I really am going to get a lot out of this.
I'm so excited. That's so awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, so digestion changed. Yeah, changed to low.
Oh, okay. So
And motivation changed too to guilt. I don't know what that means. That doesn't sound good.
Well, the low is interesting because that's all based on sound and sound frequency. And so do you have sensitivity to sound?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so that's where that one comes in. And then the guilt is actually kind of interesting. It's the opposite of hope. So
That's the one that didn't resonate with me because I'm not known as a hopeful person.
So
I am not known.
Good. That's actually good because the guilt is if you were hopeful. So this is why the birth time is so important because guilt when they are hopeful, we call that the transference, like you're not self-themed. So
yeah,
good thing we figured that one out.
Yeah.
The guilt actually is someone who's a fixer. So it's like, you know, actually your whole story where you said like you came home from the hospital and there was a foreclosure, it's like the guilt knows what to do to get out of every situation. It's like they can figure it out. Like they just fix things. They're like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to fix this. I need to do this. I need to do that. And so they're actually like the people who make things happen. And it's a positive guilt. It's like the positive guilt would be, we're going to encourage everybody here to think for themselves or to think outside the box. We're going to guilt you into thinking a little bit differently. So like the guilt in human design is like, I'm going to guilt you into learning how to live correctly as yourself. It's not the like...
Guilt can motivate you to do good things because you feel guilty for doing something bad.
That's it.
Or, yeah.
That's
I get
exactly
that.
it. That's exactly it.
And the other thing I saw was the split definition.
Are you still a projector?
Yes.
Okay.
You're a Gemini.
Yeah.
Which is your profile?
Profile is 3/5, which was that didn't change. That was the same.
Heretic. I thought
somebody said I was a heretic in a past life, but
yeah. Right. Well, the heresy is just like standing in being different, and standing in the heresy, whatever that is, like seeing the world differently.
Yeah, that's right on.
Right on.
Yeah. Ask the people at my Catholic school, private school I went to.
Yeah.
Definitely called heretic more than once. What's the signature mean?
So the signature.
Like, I got success.
So the signature is like when you are operating in your success, and it's really like what success means to you. Like, like you said about this show, like you have your listeners, this show is really successful for you. So when you are vibrating at success, that means you're in alignment. That's your signature. And then your not self theme is that bitterness. So if you're feeling bitter, like, ooh, I'm overworked, or ooh, I'm working so hard and nothing's happening, or if it works for other people but not for me, like if you're feeling bitter, then that's your not self. That's when you know you're operating against your truth.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't like being a bitter person.
Exactly. It's
never sat well with me when I catch myself being bitter. I don't like it, and try to direct myself in a different way of thinking, because I don't like that. That's like, to me, being bitter is weak. Like, I don't know. It's not something I've ever enjoyed, and I'm human. Everybody experiences that emotion. I've definitely been bitter about the things in my life, but I try not, and like the major things bitter, and I try not to. I try to get past that. Easier said than done.
That's exactly it. It is easier said than done, but that's exactly how you use the information. It's like, oh, I wake up today and I'm just feeling a little bit bitter. You want to move into the place of feeling successful. So those are how you use those signature themes.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to, I know Jamie's excited to get the book, and I can't. I got one of the perks of doing a show is I get a free PDF copy I'm reading, so I can't wait to get through it, and I want to redo it too. I do want to check it with my children. I want to see, and I'm sure my wife would like to check it out. So this is awesome. Thank you so much, Rena, for being, or Raquel is your last name, for being on the show tonight, and I'd love to have you again sometime.
It was so much fun. I really loved connecting with both of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's it for the show, guys. We will be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, on the Paranormal Radio app on Talkstream. Check us out there. Follow and subscribe. You can also help donate to the show on Patreon or Super Chat on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who does share out the show. Keep telling your friends about the Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.